long time, at least 20 years, election weekend and perhaps even election month. It's been a wild ride as we stand by here in West Virginia. Of course, nothing that was shocking, nothing that upset our local apple cart. You know, we knew what was going to happen pretty much. I think we're going to have our political analyst friend, Stephen Allen Adams from Ogden Newspaper, is going to join us a little later. He writes state politics for all the Ogden newspapers. So he'll break down anything that he sees that was even remotely different. But no surprises, I don't think, anything that's people are still talking about at the water cooler this morning. Not that anybody can gather near the water cooler together at one time in the morning, but virtual water cooler talk for this, as far as state politics go, non-existent. But man, we have enough to talk about just in the idea of who the president is going to be. I did a little... Okay, I'm going to hope that I can still add. It's been a while. I've been sitting on the shelf. I'm a little dusty. So I got my abacus out the other night, and I was like, let me figure out how Biden wins, how does Trump win, how does America win? Well, I'm not going to answer that one because I'm not 100% sure about that. But this is what I have gathered from the math that I did. So as it sits, it looks like Joe Biden has 253 electoral college votes, right?
Yes, and that is depending on who you look at, because some of the major news organizations have him at 264 to Trump's 214. Others have him still as 253.
Okay, well, I use the lowest number, 253.
Okay.
I use the lowest number because you're right. And that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, how can some people go, oh, it's over here, but then somebody else go, no, it's not. But especially when you're a news outlet. I'm not a news outlet. I'm a guy with a microphone and an abacus. So here's what I came up with. If Biden sits at 253, he needs any two of these four states to come through: Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, or Georgia. A combination of any two of those states that actually closes out and says, yes, Joe Biden won this state. That will do it. Or he could just simply win Pennsylvania, and that would do it. So that would be how Biden finds his way to the presidency. Here's what Donald Trump would need: any three of the following states: Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Georgia. So he'd need 3 out of 4 and to win Pennsylvania. Now, you would think, just based on the odds are it's easier to win 2 out of 4 or just one big one if you're Joe Biden. It does look, it's very Biden-heavy looking at the moment. For Trump, bigger climb. But if you bet this, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Why would you even consider betting such a thing? And I don't know if you saw this, Biff. I'm not a gambler per se. Like, if I go to Las Vegas, which apparently is the slowest counting town in the history of the world, my goodness, Nevada, built on numbers.
Right.
No one would ever go west to Nevada from here or any side or any part of this country for the simple purpose because there's numbers. You could leave a winner. You could go with 100 and leave with 1,000. You could go with 100 and lose your house. But Nevada is simply based on numbers, and they can't seem to count them all at one time, which is shocking to me, but that's a different story. Here's what Vegas did, though, that was brilliant. These betting sites, follow me here, betting sites from everywhere, a lot of them out of Vegas.
Yeah.
During Tuesday's election, would put up posts changing the Vegas odds. Now, you think to yourself, this was the most important election of our time, yet betting on it was something that many people wanted to do. And look, I don't knock you if you like to bet. I mean, go have at it. Have at it. But it was brilliant in the idea that these betting sites were basically getting themselves waves and waves of free promotion. Because you saw on social media, every form of social media, when it started to look overly Biden or it started to look like a big comeback from Trump, they would reset the odds, repost different odds. At one point, they had Trump winning. And so the fan bases, or I guess, whatever you want to say, because you use it kind of as a sports term, so we'll say fan bases, of both candidates, their parties were sharing the Vegas odd numbers. And essentially, that's just an arbitrary number, but, betvegas.com was attached to so many posts that they gave themselves a wave of promotion that you couldn't buy.
Oh, they knew what they were doing.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Someone in those marketing departments it got a huge raise on Wednesday morning because those betting odds that they put out there were shared over and over and over and over again with logos of the betting sites in the corner of every one of them. I mean, betting on the president or how the election would turn out, and I still don't know how they've paid that out or will pay that out. And I mean, nobody does either. We don't know how, who the president actually is as of yet. But it's amazing to think that that was the opportunity that these betting sites had to score promotion on the biggest election of our lives. One more time, if I have done this correct, just to give you an idea of where we're at. If, in fact, and I use the lowest number I could find, if Biden sits at 253 and Trump sits at 213, as most sites are saying that's where it's at, Biden would have to walk away with Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, Georgia. Just a combination of the two of those. Doesn't matter which two. Or just win Pennsylvania outright. That would put him over 270 for President Trump. He has to win 3 of these, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Georgia. So 3 out of those 4 and win Pennsylvania. So right now it does sit in the odds in the favor of Joe Biden. What happened overnight? See, this is interesting. I've been, since I'm filling in the morning, normally I have all the day's information by the time I'd come in and sit down at 2, or at least a different thing. So going back to kind of a morning situation, learning what happened overnight is always interesting. Biden takes a slight lead in Georgia. I am citing CNN.com for this information in case you want to check it out on your own. But according to CNN.com, Biden takes a lead in Georgia. And of course, President Trump could not afford to lose Georgia in its 16 electoral college votes. The thing that I find the most interesting about this, other than the fact that Nevada is the state that should be able to count the fastest, with all the blackjack dealers simply, if they should just put them in charge of that, because I can tell you I've lost $100 in Vegas in 6 seconds in one hand, and I know they can count at least 21 real quick. But the thing that I find the most interesting about this is Arizona, and that, I wonder how much of that is McCain influenced. This did not. The president has said so many things about the late John McCain, and to the point where McCain's family came out and actually rallied for Biden. And you have to wonder at some point, and I could never even attempt to scratch the surface of trying to figure out what the president thinks. So I can't even speculate.
Well, I think in Arizona, unless you know where the votes are still from, because the county that Phoenix is in, I think it's Maricopa County, if they haven't gotten their tally yet, or all of them, that's the one to look out for. And I believe in Arizona, there are a couple more smaller ones as well that have still yet to give their numbers in. So that's probably the only help that Trump really has in Arizona, is that Maricopa County isn't in yet. Some of those smaller ones aren't in yet because those lean more Republican tend to lean more Republican. So if all of them come in and you see what they are, it may be enough. It might not be.
It is. It's a good question on how that that actually works. And I've got the interactive map pulled up here, and it is kind of interesting. The Tucson area, Phoenix is still, like you said, kind of in between. There's plenty of outlying red, and then kind of some central blue. But I wonder, though, some of those staunch Republicans that live in Arizona, I wonder if their, I guess, fondness of McCain changes that game for them. Because the McCain family came out and openly supported Joe Biden, and I just wonder if the president looks back, if he loses Arizona, and says to himself, boy, I probably should not have trashed McCain. Because the guy is an American war hero. And, he passed away, and then saying begrudging things about him after he's gone. I wonder if this is going to come back to get him. I really do. And I have to wonder if he wonders that. Although, again, I don't know that I could even venture into the mind or the mindset of President Trump. Of course, all over, he's filing lawsuits. He wants the counting to stop everywhere and saying basically that, hey, this election was rigged. Now, I don't know much about rigging an election. I don't know, Biff, if you spend your spare time trying to figure out how to rig elections. But I would say if that was the case, and I'm not saying that it is, I'm saying if it was, and let's face it, none of this can be terribly scientific considering it's Friday morning and this was supposed to close out on the West Coast at 10 p.m.
Well, I know, to go back to Vegas real quick and the odds and everything, that is one place that is hoping that this goes as long as it can.
Yeah.
Whether it's into next week, the rest of the month, Vegas is saying, hey, keep on going, because the more it goes and the more you see the numbers and the votes change with the remaining states, those odds are just going to be changing like crazy for them.
They are. And here's what I'm wondering about Nevada specifically, since you revisited that. Well, Nevada specifically, but any of them. Do any of these states, are they not, like Pennsylvania, I honestly think, is going as slow as possible because Tom Wolf and Donald Trump don't get along. I think if nothing else, Tom Wolf is going, you know what? I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to make you wait. And I think that is probably the most aggravating part for the president, is how much he despises Governor Tom Wolf. But I was going to say, I think for like Nevada, more than anything, I don't think they want to be the next Florida as far as the 2000 election. Yeah. I think a lot of these states, I mean,
y'all, no state wants that distinction. You don't want to be considered the next Florida and have all this, because I still vaguely remember what happened back in 2000. I wasn't paying attention as much as I am now, but yeah, I remember my grandparents and my grandfather. He'd get up every morning, and the first thing he'd do with his coffee, turn the TV on to find out if we had a winner yet.
Sure.
I still remember that, and hearing hanging chads and asking him, how come they haven't decided this yet, and what's the hanging chad and everything. And then when he told me, I was like, oh, okay. And I just went about, because back then I would have been 16. So I mean, it was like, okay, you hear it and you really don't think too much of it now, but it's one of those deals where, yeah, you don't want to be considered Florida Part 2.
Now, I was a little older than you by about 4 years, and what I remember about it was it seemed like nobody wanted to take the responsibility.
Take charge.
Yeah. And that's really, as I think about those days, I feel like Nevada is doing that. Like, I don't really, to say I was a political analyst would be a lie. I'm not a political analyst. I'm a guy who likes numbers and likes to figure things out. But I mean, I'm also the same guy who can, I would also take a tape measure into my garage and build something because I like to figure things out.
Right.
I'm not a political analyst, but what I do know is through the course of my life, other than one election in 2000 with one state, this has always been a process that has gone smooth enough to know who the president is. And my fear is, because you can look at 2000 and you can say how close, Florida was contested.
Well, I think I had a feeling on election night back on Tuesday when, no matter who you watch, when they first come on and they start calling the states early and you think, okay, we may have a winner. But when it took forever for the states to get in, like Texas, seemed like it took forever for them to call. When they weren't calling states early and you were just getting, barely any of them coming in, I knew then, I had a feeling it's not only is it going to be a long night Tuesday, but who knows how much longer this is going to drag on.
Oh, I think this sees December. I really do. I don't think it's going to take till December for these 5 states that have not called yet to acknowledge where they're at, but I certainly don't think this is settled until at least December.
Well, I think 2 of the 5, Nevada and North Carolina, have already come out and said they're waiting until next week for numbers.
Sure.
I think North Carolina said Thursday the 12th, and I think Nevada, they either followed suit or they're going to be a day or two before, but 2 of them are right within part of next week. They've come out and said that.
Allegheny County, by the way, which of course would be the closest hotspot county to where we're sitting here in the center of the universe, Wheeling, West Virginia, Allegheny County, which is where Pittsburgh is located, they still have ballots. They're counting this morning. They're not in a hurry. They're not in a hurry at all. And for me, I don't know that I could handle the internal patience needed. But again, I also think that Governor Tom Wolf is enjoying taking his sweet time because he's got his goat. And I think that is probably part of that. But Allegheny County still has many ballots. And what I did see earlier this morning when I was looking is the ballots that came in post Tuesday are being counted but not processed. So there are more ballots that are available that aren't going to be processed because they essentially arrived too late, which of course you can tie into the situation with the mail being slowed down. And mail has slowed down. I mean, I can't break into this in some sort of conspiracy mail theory. I mean, we could, but it's not going to do any good because I don't know anything about that. All I know is I sent a letter to St. Louis, one of my very good friends. His birthday was last week, and I sent him a card, and he still hasn't got it. And that's only halfway across the country, and it's been 7 or 8 days.
Well, I know when I was doing stuff for my student loans or whatever, I would send them actually to Pennsylvania. It was Wilkes-Barre is where it would be getting from. And I would get it and just look at the date just to see. It was anywhere between when they mailed it out to the time I got it here, it was anywhere between 10 to 14 days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're just talking from Wilkes-Barre to here.
And that's what I'm wondering is how many ballots are still floating out there that are going to still continue to trickle in. And I don't blame the postal workers get their mail for the most part. I can't say that we haven't seen examples of some postal workers disregarding ballots and things like that. It's happened. But again, I think that goes back to just about any profession you can think of. There's good cops, there's bad cops. There's good politicians, there's bad politicians. In this case, there are good male people and there are bad ones. I mean, seriously, I can't. The thing that drives me crazy about all this stuff is people will point a finger and go, police are bad. no, police aren't bad. An officer can be a bad seed.
Right.
Even a group of officers can be a bad seed, but the police overall are not bad.
You can't cover all of them
No.
just for the actions of what one or a few might do.
And
you have to separate them.
Because at that point you're saying mankind is bad. Well, no, that's not true. Certain human beings are bad.
Right.
But I think you see the same thing with postal workers. I mean, postal workers are just people too. And some of them may be very passionate to the right. Some may be very passionate to the left. And whatever they felt like they need to do with a mail sack full of ballots, well, I would say 99% of them or more delivered them because they're postal workers. There are those ones out there who didn't. And those people seem to be getting caught. There seem to be videos. There seems to be busts and raids.
And is it worth it to get a fine or possibly end up in jail for doing something over this?
I think that's a federal crime, actually.
So, I mean, is it, when you think about it, is it really worth it to, if they are holding back ballots or mail or whatever, is it really worth it? I mean, come on.
I mean, I can't imagine that it is really worth it. But again, I'm not in that position. The only position I had, and you had, and most people have in this election, is to be a voter. That's your position. You're an American citizen. You have the right to vote, and so you vote. And that's what and then you wait to see how your other American counterparts also voted. They add them all up, and then you get the president. At least that's how it used to be. It's not like that now. But that's what I'm saying. Like, when you feel like you get the power to influence an election, whether it be via your mailbag, whether it be via the idea that you're the person who's counting the votes in a certain county and you're tasked with that, like with more power comes the opportunity to make a worse decision. I mean, I don't know about you, Biff, but when I was a kid, my friends and I used to walk around Century 3 Mall, which was in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. I grew up right outside of there, in Clarendon, another steel town. And we would go on the weekends, and we would go to the mall. That's what kids did. We were 16. It was the early 90s. We'd go to the mall. And I always remembered how the mall security guards acted. Like, at the end of the day, you graduated with my brother's friends, and you have, like, a flashlight. But boy, that flashlight and that uniform made you a whole different person you were 2 years ago when you were graduating from McKeesport High School. So when you get an opportunity to show authority, whether you really have some or you don't, your opportunity to make a bad decision does exist.
Even if it's just a little bit of power.
Exactly. And so if you become a postal worker, and that's an important thing here in America, being a postal worker and delivering the mail. I mean, I think the most famous postal worker I think of came from Seinfeld. I think of Newman.
Yes.
And so I think a lot, and the mail is information. We control the mail. So I mean, you have that kind of, and I'm not trying to make it too much of a funny thing with saying that, but when you do have that power, I mean, if you have a mail truck full of mostly ballots and you are super passionate about one side or the other, I mean, there's that devil angel on your shoulder type of thing going,
which one are you going to choose?
Yeah, I can upgrade my position in this election from just general voter to I'll make sure this big bag of ballots never finds its way home. I mean, you do. And so can you imagine when you get to the top of the heap, like you're the governor of a state that's a battleground state? I'm not saying you're there to do the wrong thing. All I'm saying is that power to do the wrong thing really could influence an election, the election of our lifetimes so far.
Let's shine the spotlight on my state.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, I can't decide whether like a state like Nevada is just playing coy because they don't want to become the next Florida? Or is a state like Pennsylvania saying, oh, wait, and look at us because we're holding all the cards? Because Pennsylvania is essentially holding all the cards because all Biden needs is Pennsylvania, and he could win without the other 4 states. Trump doesn't have that luxury, and I just think if you have the opportunity to make them sweat, maybe you make them sweat. I hope that's not what they're doing, but that's kind of how it feels to John Q. Citizen, me, you guys, waiting to find out how this went down and who the voter is, or who the winner is.
Trump's lead in Pennsylvania as of right now is a little over 18,000 votes. 18,042 is the lead that he has in Pennsylvania as of right now.
And there's a lot of Allegheny County votes, which of course is Pittsburgh, that have not been counted. I think there's at least 35,000 I read this morning. So it's an interesting thing. It is a historic thing. I often make this comparison. My whole radio life has been spent in rock radio, rock morning shows, essentially. So rock and roll has played a big part of my life. And I think to myself, when this is by far the most important thing I've ever had to talk about and cover. The death of celebrities has been difficult, of rock stars. In fact, I was right here the day Eddie Van Halen died in the afternoon. And honestly, as sad as it made me that Eddie Van Halen died, I was happy that I was here to immediately eulogize it as it happened because I love that. This is so strange because it's an election that we never thought as broadcasters we'd get to talk about. And it's just not over, and it's not going to be over. And I just wonder for the rest of our lives, is this how elections are going to flow? There's already speculation if Trump loses this election, he's going to run again in 2024. It's just, we can't even get past 3 days post-election, and he's already planning a second term, sort of what? I don't know. It's so wild. It's so wild to be a part of this. We're going to take a break. We want to welcome you to get in and call us. 304-214-1600. 304-214-1600 is the phone number. Of course, you can get at us via Twitter at TheWatchdogWV. We're live on Facebook at The Watchdog. We also have the TuneIn Radio app. But you know what? Let's just have fun with it because I'm happy to be here for Howard. I'm not sure why he's not here today, but the spot was open and I'm happy to fill it. I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you guys have to think. And if you disagree with me, that's even better. That's even better. Bring a point of view. This is a station for the people. Let's do it for the people right here on The Watchdog.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news headlines from 7 News at WTRF, My Ohio Valley, and ABC Ohio Valley. Only on AM 1600 WKKX. The Watchdog.
Good morning, everyone. It's finally Friday. We made it. Taylor Long here with your 7 News headlines on this November the 6th. Starting off in the Friendly City this morning, Youth Services System's annual Wheeling Sleep Out is going virtual this year due to the pandemic. This is the 10th year for the event, which raises awareness and funds for youth facing homelessness. This year's theme is Home for the Holidays. Participants traditionally build cardboard structures at Miracle League Field, but they'll be doing it from home on December 4th. Organizers have also set their fundraising goal at $100,000, which is the highest amount in Wheeling Sleep Out history. In Marshall County now, the Benwood Fire Department is doing a Fill the Truck throughout the month of November. They are taking clothing and toy donations to help the Marshall County Caring Tree. You can drop off donations at the fire station from 1 to 5 on Saturdays and noon to 3 on Sundays. The deadline is December 8th. And in the Buckeye State, Ohio State Highway Patrol continues to investigate a fatal crash that occurred Wednesday afternoon on US 22 in Harrison County. 75-year-old Frederick Lloyd of Columbus was traveling eastbound when another vehicle went across the center line, striking his vehicle. Lloyd was transported to UPMC, where he succumbed to his injuries. The other driver was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Stay with 7 News for additional updates. That was a look at your headlines. Have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful and safe weekend, everyone.
Thursday night football. It was the Packers all over the 49ers, 34-17. A pretty good night for Aaron Rodgers. He threw 4 touchdown passes. Green Bay improves to 6-2. Struggling 49ers dropped to 4-5. The Steelers 14-point favorites at Dallas Sunday against a bad Cowboys team. Yeah, the Cowboys are struggling at 2-6, while the Steelers look to improve to 8-0. Ohio State, Penn State, West Virginia, Pitt, all in action Saturday. Number 3 ranked Buckeyes will host Rutgers. West Virginia will visit Texas. Pitt Panthers will visit Florida State. Penn State, well, they'll be in action facing Maryland. How about this matchup in South Bend, Indiana? Number 1 Clemson will face number 4, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. You ready for more basketball? I know the season just ended, a month ago? Well, the Players Association have agreed with the owners to start the NBA regular season schedule on December 22nd. The regular season will consist of 72 games. And remember, there's an NBA draft. That will be held November 18th. Be safe. Please check on the elderly. Don't forget the football show coming up this afternoon at 12:30. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are the watchdog.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Save today on Procter & Gamble cleaning products. They make life simple with products that you can trust from Tide, Downy, Dawn, and Swiffer. Stock up on Procter & Gamble cleaning supplies and get 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through Saturday, November 7th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together we will get through this.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. 7:44. I'm Big Rick, filling in for Howard Monroe this morning. Good to talk to you. Hopefully you're having a good Friday, and I can guarantee you are having a great weather Friday. Let's have Zach Petty from WTRF Channel 7, meteorologist. Zach, good morning.
Good morning, Rick. How are you today?
I got to tell you, I'm inspired by the weather, so thank you. I assume you directly create it.
Yes, and Howard and everyone keeps telling us, Dr. Dave and I, that we have a little thermostat that we kind of crank in the temperatures, and we kind of have like a atmospheric moisture saturation where we say, okay, we're going to make it rather cloudy or clear skies. So we have that guy shut off and the temperatures cranked up to end of spring, if not early summertime temperatures. So yeah, of course, you're welcome.
Well, I look forward to spending Christmas Day in my shorts then on my back patio. If you can make that happen, that would be fantastic. I've already planned.
All right. Well, maybe, hopefully there is not too much of a wrinkle, but personally I would be A-okay with some snow showers. And I think some people would be just happy with what you're expecting to see, shorts weather, but personally I would rather see some snow showers, at least at some point, but it's 2020, so who really knows?
I was going to say, I at that point, we actually could have frogs falling from the sky. I don't know if that's actually a meteorological term, but whatever plague frogs falling from the sky on Christmas Day, it's 2020, so is anybody going to... Oh, look, honey, it's raining frogs outside this morning. Merry Christmas. I can see it happen. I can see it happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into more modern times. It looks like we are in for a really nice couple days.
Absolutely, yeah. Saturday, even in through the Sunday, if anyone needs to go out and wash their cars, there's going to be good car washing weather, low humidity, low dew point, so you'll be able to even wax the cars and take it right off without any smear or smudge marks. I'm expecting to see high temperatures in the lower 70s, and we could actually, the National Weather Service hasn't issued this because I don't think they have the capabilities of the National Weather Service, but I issued a record watch for high temperatures on both Monday and Tuesday. We could be possibly flirting with record highs. Our normal record high on Monday is 72. I'm forecasting to see high temperatures of 73. And then for Tuesday, the record high set back in 1939 was 75. And I'm forecasting high temperatures right around 74. So it's early November. You wouldn't expect to see these types of temperatures right now and through the first couple of days of November, but possibly record-breaking warmth. Again, we'll chalk it up to 2020, but just something to keep an eye out for, especially seeing these very unseasonably warm temperatures.
You know what I'm seeing a lot of people doing, and I'm not an advocate for this, but with the weather, you can't beat it. I saw people putting up their Christmas lights all day yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely great weather to go outside and decorate them, just as long as they wait to turn them on until after Thanksgiving, then
Agreed.
I won't judge.
Agreed. Oh my gosh, agreed. 1,000%. I love this time of year. I mean, I love Halloween, and I love moving into the Thanksgiving holiday. And I mean, I have people that put their Christmas trees up on Halloween. Of course, it was a Saturday, and you know, for a lot of people, it was like, do I go trick-or-treating? Do I send my kids out? Do I not do that? So that, you know, a fun family activity, apparently, for many of my friends on social media was, we're just going to put up the Christmas tree. I'm like, no, we need turkey football games. We need a Thanksgiving. We need that kind of stuff before we get into that. I did want to ask you, we were talking to Zach Petty this morning from Channel 7, WTRF. What can we expect as we get into, because I'm pretty sure I heard this morning that we have a La Nina. Is that a thing that's happening?
Yes. So that is actually a phenomenon where the atmosphere and the ocean kind of intermingle, and then it essentially brings us either warm or cool weather into the United States. So we're actually, again, like you said, a La Nina, which means cooler, if not colder, sea surface temperature waters in the Pacific Ocean. So now what that means is there's going to be a cooler air mass that comes in through Canada, and it essentially has to do with the polar jet. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard, what was it, I'm drawing a blank right now. The polar vortex.
The vortex.
Polar vortex. Yeah, so in terms of what that has to do with us in the Ohio Valley, it's going to oscillate right around the Great Lakes region and in through the Dakotas. So I'm expecting to see the Dakotas getting very cold and abundant snow showers. Whereas here in the Ohio Valley, with what I'm expecting to see, well, with La Nina, you typically see warmer temperatures associated with that polar vortex, not dipping as far south as the Ohio Valley. So we're going to be above average temperatures. But one thing I do want to stress, I mean, it is 2020, Rick, so anything could happen. But above average for December through February, maybe the upper 40s to low 50s. I don't expect to see 70-degree weather in through the winter months. But again, who knows? But in also keeping with the trend of above average temperatures, it will probably be more rain than snow. But there will still be periods of cold weather. Don't get me wrong. I do expect to see a few heavy-hitting snow showers or snow storms come through. But still, I'm expecting to see more rain than snow and above average temperatures compared to below average temperatures, which I'm sure to many people are going to be rather satisfied with that.
Zach, I know you have to get scooting, but I have to ask you one very important question from Biff and I.
Sure.
How long can we play golf until there's no more golf weather? Because this is deadly important.
I haven't built a graphic or a forecast model for that one, but I would just have to say maybe, this Thursday, as of now, 6 days out, it's looking relatively nice, partly cloudy skies, high temperatures, getting closer to seasonal in the upper 50s. But maybe next week might be the last one. But I thought, honestly, last weekend was going to be the last one. Biff was talking to me about that last week. But I don't know. It's kind of like a day-by-day appearance because the talking point of everything, Rick, 2020. Who knows?
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Zach Petty, WTRF Channel 7. And look forward to talking to you again. And keep that sunshine going.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you. You too.
See you, Zach.
Well, there's something to make us feel good, Biff.
We'll take any little thing we can get.
Absolutely. Looks like we're going to be able to play golf into next week, maybe beyond. I didn't want to tell Zach, but I will actually, if it's above 40 and not raining, and I can find a course that's open, I'll play. Yeah.
You'll see even in December and January and years past where we may get just that one day where we get lucky enough and it's 60 or mid 60s, and you see guys out going. I mean, there are some that do it all the time as long as it's okay.
My key to life is keep my clubs in the car. That way, in case it accidentally is nicer than I thought, and I drive past the course, I'm like, well, I mean, I could probably get 9 in real quick. See, if you have to go home and get your clubs once you get there, and you're like, for me, if it's in case of emergency golf, break glass. Like that's how I am. Let's since we got a couple minutes here before the top of the hour, and we are kind of talking about sports and our golf habits. We got a lot of sports coming up today. This is the last weekend of regular season play for West Virginia high school football, and of course in Ohio they are entering into the playoffs. I think Pennsylvania too is in their second week of the playoffs. So we are getting down to the end of the seasons here, and we've got some games here tonight.
Yeah, Ohio, they're in the regional finals this weekend, so next weekend will be the Final Four for the state playoffs, which in Ohio is usually played at Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, where the Hall of Fame is. This year, because of everything that's gone on and the social distancing and everything, they didn't think it was good enough to play it there. So they're moving it actually a little bit outside of Columbus. And I want to say it's the Fortress Obits or something like that.
That's the soccer stadium.
That's where the
Columbus Crew play.
I don't think it's their stadium. It's a smaller one. It looks like there's a campground and maybe like a racetrack or something nearby.
Okay, because I thought that might be the soccer stadium, just based on the name.
No, because
it used to be
it
used to be Maffrey Stadium. Maybe it still is.
But someone mentioned that. They said, well, why aren't they should have played it at the Cruise Stadium, but it's just outside of Columbus. So that's where the Final Four and championship games, I believe, are going to be this year for Ohio. But tonight, Shady Side at Newark Catholic at 7 o'clock. That game going to be over on AM 1370 WVLY and 97.7. And the winner of that game will meet the winner of JFK out of Warren and Lucas. So that'll be one of the semifinal matchups next week. West Virginia, this is the final week of the regular season for them. And Wheeling Central, they are at Petersburg tonight on AM 1600 WKKX and 98.1 FM. That game, there was a time change yesterday. It was originally scheduled for 7 o'clock. It is now going to be 6 o'clock tonight. Wheeling Central making the roughly 3.5-hour trip to Petersburg, which is over in Hardy County. Moorfield would be the team around here that people would know of. Central has made that trip before to Moorfield, but tonight they're going to Petersburg, and a must-win game tonight for Wheeling Central. If Wheeling Central is to get into the playoffs, they will need a win tonight over Petersburg. And then the real fun begins tomorrow, because here in West Virginia with the governor and his Crayola crayons and the map and everything,
Yes.
we got to wait for tomorrow to see if teams that have already clinched a playoff spot are going to be able to play next week. So again, Central wins tonight, they're in. That's part one. Part two will be tomorrow, looking at the map, making sure the map's the right color and everything, and to see if anybody can play. And then after that, what happens tomorrow with the map, things could get very interesting in the following week. So stay tuned for that. But no, Central and Petersburg tonight at 6, Shadyside and Newark Catholic at 7. So 2 good games tonight here.
And we'll have that, of course, on the air. And one of the greatest rivalries in the state of West Virginia is not happening tonight. It's heartbreaking personally, because I spent 12 years living in Parkersburg, West Virginia, but Parkersburg and PHS and Parkersburg South have been canceled. COVID seems to be running wild down in the Wood County area. And so those 2 teams will not play tonight. Obvious playoff implications on that one. And it's this state is so rich with great rivalries, and that is kind of at the top of the list. If you're not terribly familiar with the layout of Parkersburg, you have North End and South Side, and boy, that matters. And it is a fun week for all of the people in that county. And of course, at one point, when Parkersburg Catholic had a team, and they had rival Williamstown, so that's one county, 4 schools, and they played each other at the same time. And it was just such a beautiful thing. And I know that so many people, I think, are downtrodden about things are never going to be the same. Now, I can't tell you when things are going to be the same, but boy, those rivalry games that you miss, and the fact that we love high school football so much in the state of West Virginia, next year, hopefully, we won't be playing this. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow to see if the governor allows us to move forward. And you can't take it out on him, because he's trying to ultimately protect as many people as you can. But it hurts, because it's part of our fabric. West Virginia and high school football go together.
Yeah, they do.
They go together. This is why Fridays exist for us.
And smaller communities, and Shadyside over in Ohio, perfect example tonight. And I'm sure the joke is going to be in Shadyside, because they travel well, but unfortunately they're probably not going to have the same amount of fans as normal. But the joke was always, well, the last one in Shadyside, no matter where they're traveling, turns the light off.
Turn the light out.
And the only place a light stayed on was Matt's Tiger Pub down there for the game. That was it. Everybody else, whoever the last one is, turn the lights out in Shadyside.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled so far around, and I'm sure you have as well, and been behind the board for so many great games in the state of West Virginia. We will get back to some sort of normal at some point in the near future for games like that to happen, because there's so many great little nuanced places, small towns where high school football is king. Wirt County comes to mind for those that have been to Wirt County. Wirt County on a Friday night, you stop, you get yourself some pie, get to the stadium, and you just enjoy Tiger football. I think we're thinking about you. All the kids that are going out there, the parents that have to travel and have to stay home, we're thinking about you too, if nothing else. Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, spend a safe and happy night at your favorite high school football stadium, or your game might be right here on the Watchdog. We'll be back with more.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Joe Biden now leading President Trump in the Georgia vote tally by about 1,100 votes. The votes coming from places like Gwinnett County, where Joe Biden has almost a 20-point lead, and also Clayton County, where Biden is leading by a wide margin. In Pennsylvania, President Trump still has a slight lead. ABC News senior national affairs correspondent Tom Yamas.
He's on top by about 18,000 votes. There's still 160,000 ballots remaining. Those are a lot of Democratic-friendly counties. We know they're still counting in Philadelphia right now at this hour. For Joe Biden to take the lead in Pennsylvania, he's going to have to win 56% of the remaining vote, and Democrats think he can do that. Not much change in Nevada and North Carolina. Joe Biden on top in Nevada. The president's still on top in North Carolina. The race is tightening a little bit in Arizona. Joe Biden on top, but there's still a big chunk of vote that's still out.
President Trump Thursday evening floating allegations without evidence about the vote count.
They want to find out how many votes they need, and then they seem to be able to find them. They wait, and then they find them.
And now in Pennsylvania, an investigation into an alleged plot to attack the vote count.
Philadelphia police investigating an alleged plot to attack the city's convention.
Well, thank y'all so much. Come on, Jill. This is our
American economy in the month of October that would mark a slower pace of job growth than in the past few months. Coronavirus cases continue to break new records, over 116,000 new cases just yesterday. You're listening to ABC News.
Modernization isn't just a buzzword, it's a buzz revolution. Hi, I'm Future Strong, founder of Modern Modernization Today, and I can take your business into a bold new era where high-tech eagles soar and paradigm shifts grow on.
daughter Jill, son Jay, his beautiful. Cut out the bad eggs, bankrupt them, and go on about your business. But we didn't do that. Because I'll tell you first and foremost, the friend that I had that ran the bank that was our #1 banker, it would have killed him. A big round of applause to Larry Puccio. But again, I hope and pray that we get all of our Republican buddies through this tonight. I hope and pray that we maintain the majority in the House and the Senate. And I hope and pray that every single day that goes by, we as Republicans are going to absolutely bring more and more and more goodness to West Virginia. But let me just say this last thing. I have said this from the very first day that I came here. I really don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. At the end of the day, we got enough people in this world that are throwing rocks at West Virginia. We don't need to throw rocks at ourselves. I mean that from the bottom of my soul. Now, if you're hung up out of your mind on the fact that the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or the Independent Party, is better or higher than anything that we do, then I really can't go there, because I just want one thing and only one thing, and that's goodness for West Virginia. Now, we're going somewhere, West Virginia, and I hate to say it this way, but if you get in West Virginia's way right now, West Virginia's going to run over your ass. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. And pray that every single day that goes by, we as Republicans are going to absolutely bring more and more and more goodness to West Virginia. But let me just say this last thing. And pray that every single day that goes by, we as Republicans are going to absolutely bring more and more and more goodness to West Virginia.
ABC News.
Hello, I'm Wheeling Fire Chief Larry Helms. As our city and region get back to business, it's extremely important to continue the following specific health guidelines to stop the spread of COVID-19. This virus is highly contagious and is more deadly than the flu. Please wear a mask or face covering in public, wash your hands more often, socially distance yourself as much as possible, and by following these guidelines, it potentially could save your life.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I love living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Menards has everything you need to make your home a better place to live. Eliminate musty odors with a Damp Rid Moisture Absorber. They're perfect for basements, attics, closets, and more. Right now, all Damp Rid products are 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through November 7th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the storm tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday, mostly sunny skies, a daytime high near 70 degrees, overnight low of 45. We're back in the low 70s again for your Saturday under mostly sunny conditions. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
We are cooking on a Friday morning. How are you? I'm Big Rick. 9 minutes after 8, filling in for the legendary Howard Monroe. Good to talk to you. This is the Watchdog, 304-214-1600. If you have an idea, you want to combat something that we're talking about, whatever you want to do, this station is for you. It's for the people. It's for all of us that love West Virginia and talking about stuff together. And here's the guy. If you want to talk about West Virginia state politics, there's only one man. He writes for the Ogden newspapers. You can read his stuff right here in the Intelligencer. The one and only Stephen Allen Adams. Good morning, my friend.
What is going on? I feel like we're in Groundhog Day every day so far.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
exactly. Welcome to Election Day, Friday. Welcome to Election Week, and perhaps even Election Month and, the election rest of the year as it goes. But West Virginia, pretty cut and dry, Steve. We talked last week, and you kind of gave a preview of nothing to come, and that's basically what happened with maybe one exception.
Well, I got to tell you, of course, I kind of pay attention to the presidential race as an outside observer, much like you. But, covering state government races, I got to tell you, there were several races that I knew would probably be wins. I don't do predictions beforehand just because I have to cover these guys
Sure.
afterwards. So I don't usually do predictions, but I knew Republicans would do pretty well in various, Board of Public Works races. I kind of believe that they would still hold the state Senate, maybe with the same majority that they had currently, and I kind of figured that the House of Delegates would be fine. I wasn't expecting so many, not only big wins, I wasn't expecting the margins of how big some of these people won. I certainly wasn't expecting Republican Riley Moore, former lawmaker from Jefferson County Republican, to defeat a six-term incumbent Democrat in the form of State Treasurer John Perdue, who was seeking a seventh historic term as the state's top banker. Wasn't expecting that win, and certainly wasn't expecting it by the margin that it was. And, I wasn't expecting the Senate to pick up 23 seats. I wasn't expecting the House to go to, at least by last count, it could change because there's some pretty narrow races in districts that have multiple delegates. I wasn't expecting 76 members, and they're well beyond supermajority status now. So there was a lot of interesting surprises Tuesday night when it came to state government.
Were you surprised? Let's start first with the governor. I actually thought Ben Saligo had a better opportunity than he got. I thought there was more of a chance for him, but boy, the justice supporters came out in droves.
I really thought that race would be more narrow, but by more narrow, I kind of figured there would be a 10-point spread on that. I figured justice would win. A lot of it was name recognition, like we've talked about previously, where Saligo was new. He was certainly new in politics. He's only, barely been a county commissioner here in Kanawha County for about 3 years. He's still a little new down here. Of note, he didn't even win Kanawha County. He didn't even win his adopted home county. He didn't win his home county because he's a native of Beaver in Raleigh County. So he didn't win that. West Virginia, in fact, if you look at the map, Trump picked up every county, all 55 counties. Shelley Moore Capito got more votes than Trump did, actually.
Really?
She got what you would consider Robert C. Byrd era numbers. She had, I think, over 70% of the vote. Just huge support for her. And she carried all 55 counties. Justice carried all 55 counties. So, and to be honest, the Republican congressional candidates, you're talking about David McKinley in the first, Alex Mooney in the second, Carol Miller in the third. They carried every one of their counties. For the exception of J.B. McCuskey with Board of Public Works. He's the only one that carried all 55 counties. just huge turnout. A lot of that was the Trump wave. In West Virginia, there's just nearly more Republicans registered than Democrats, as we've talked about. It's also a situation where there's still, I don't have any data to quantify what the percentage would be, but there's obviously a number of Democrats that vote Republican in this state. And like many states, as you're seeing with some of these close races in Nevada, Georgia, still trying to count the presidential vote, you had two different waves. You had Democratic voters that were coming out, obviously, to vote for Biden and definitely to vote against Trump. You had Republicans that were coming out to protect their president. But in West Virginia, we don't have as much of a blue wave anymore. So it was just all red wave. And that not only helped races up at the top, but that carried deep down even in the small House of Delegates races. So it's really phenomenal.
It was an interesting. It was an interesting wave, like you said. It was a red wave in this the craziest political year we've ever seen. It was less of a wave that I thought that we'd see. No wrinkles really in the state. But did you watch or were you there for Governor Justice's speech?
I certainly was. It was at the Greenbrier Resort, which obviously the governor himself owns. He lives nearby in Lewisburg. Huge crowd, mostly people that were, staying socially distanced and wearing masks for the most part. And he had a full ballroom, and he came out with his family, his wife Kathy, his daughter Jill, his son Jay, their grandchildren, and even came out with his dog, and gave a real simple speech, very humble speech, thanking the voters for their support. And they dropped the balloons in the ballroom, and it was a really, really electric night. But the thing about the night that I thought was interesting was based on just how quickly results were coming back, either through West Virginia Metro News' system or through the Secretary of State's office's system. The margins started coming back so wide that, to be honest, most people didn't even stay at the event. A lot of people left early because you didn't have to sit around and wait terribly long. It became pretty clear pretty early that Republicans were sweeping. So by, say, 10:30, there was barely anybody in the ballroom except a couple people hanging out to watch the presidential results and the return.
Well, we are going to play. Biff has our favorite clip of the night, locked and loaded. Biff, if you would.
But let me just say this last thing. I have said this from the very first day that I came here. I really don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. At the end of the day, we got enough people in this world that are throwing rocks at West Virginia. We don't need to throw rocks at ourselves. I mean that from the bottom of my soul. Now, if you're hung up out of your mind on the fact that the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or the Independent Party, is better or higher than anything that we do, then I really can't go there, because I just want one thing and only one thing, and that's goodness for West Virginia. And we're going somewhere, West Virginia, and I hate to say it this way, but if you get in West Virginia's way right now, West Virginia's going to run over your ass. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Steve, you were there for that part, right?
I was there for the whole thing, yes, sir. I'll tell you what's really funny too. Like the on the walls of the ballroom. I wish I would have got more pictures of this, but on the walls of the ballroom, they had printed out large on banners every one of Justice's colorful quotes over the last 3 years.
That's a lot of banners.
You can think of. Well, including follow the effing guidelines.
I was going to say
everything. It was really funny.
Well, I took a few things from that part of the speech. I mean, it was short. I mean, I think it was, what was it, Biff? The whole thing was 11 and a half minutes?
12 and a half,
Yeah, 12 and a half minutes. So it wasn't a lot of talking. And you know what? For Governor Justice, and I say this respectfully, less is best because he talks himself into circles sometimes. So it's probably good that it wasn't all that long. But that clip we played, I got a few things out of. The first one was a sentiment I think we should all take heed. Anybody that cares about the state of West Virginia, we have to stop collectively, never stop making fun of yourself, but the idea of throwing rocks at yourself is different. I think we have so many examples of people over the course of time that have taken, their own faults and turned them into funny things that they can use in a proactive way. A lot of West Virginians openly trash the state of West Virginia, and that's ridiculous. And I'm glad he addressed that, because I am a West Virginia transplant. I mean, Steve, when you and I met, you were just a youngster learning your way through the radio business, and I had lived in Parkersburg for many years, and I love this state. I mean, and namely the two parts that I've spent the most time in, which are Parkersburg and Wheeling. And I don't understand how anybody thinks that going and attacking your state with we don't have this, or this state has too much of that or not enough of this, could ever help the state improve. So I think no matter who the governor is, they have a huge problem. I was glad to hear Justice say that.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that a big part of the governor's mission over the last 3.5, nearly 4 years, has been trying to change the perception of West Virginia, not just the recruiting new businesses, that's always a big part of it, but really trying to change the perception of what people outside West Virginia think about West Virginia, which does actually play a large role into why we don't get a lot of interesting, economic development projects, because people do have a stereotypical mindset when it comes to West Virginia. And if you're a big corporation, do you really want to set up there? Never mind the fact that, as has been pointed out, we're within striking distance of 2/3 of the nation's population.
Sure.
There's plenty of roads here. You can get to DC. You can get to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. You can get down into Charlotte. You can get down to Tennessee. I mean, we are an ideal location for business, but if you have a negative perception of the state, you're going to think twice before you look at the state. Now you're seeing things like the Virgin Hyperloop. What an exciting project. Let's be honest, that would have gone to California, or they already have a facility in Nevada. Who would have thought that they would have chose West Virginia for this thing? But they did, and you can attribute a lot of that to the changing perception of the state. I mean, let's be honest, West Virginia is the Colorado of the East. I mean, there's no reason that, people that are into, say, skiing or outdoor activities, why would you not come to West Virginia?
Absolutely.
But it's the perception. But I think the perception, to some extent, is changing.
Well, I hope that it is, and I'm just glad to hear that addressed by the governor. I mean, overall, there's no bigger PR person for your state than your governor. I mean, because that's the person that people can find. I mean, you can peel every layer back and you can say, proud West Virginians, Jennifer Gardner, or Brad Paisley. But at the end of the day, the person that PRs your state the most is your governor. That's the person that people see. And the fact that some of these colorful gaffes or interesting nuggets were pasted up on the walls at the Greenbrier during his acceptance speech, I think is fun, because it does show you can't poke fun at yourself, but you have to be serious about what you're doing with your state and how you want people to perceive it. I mean, people don't have the same thought about them. We'll just use states that even border us. Right now, Pennsylvania, of course, is in a spotlight and for waiting for votes. But for the most part, even if you don't like Philadelphia, you don't like Pittsburgh, you don't. Pennsylvania's kind of it's like, oh, they have these two big cities and everything else in between is a lot of farmland, which is essentially true. Ohio borders, and then you have the people that have negative connotations towards Kentucky. West Virginia kind of sits in this weird pocket that you could certainly, with the right PR, really push an understanding. And I think you mentioned the Virgin Hyperloop. I mean, what a great project for the state of West Virginia to have coming to it. And hopefully, and that's Richard Branson's company, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Richard Branson can change if he comes to West Virginia and falls in love with it, and this hyperlink project is huge for West Virginia. Richard Branson being on the side of West Virginia is a game-changing event for West Virginia. Richard Branson can bring so much opportunity. So I would think anything that had to do with this hyperlink that Governor Justice can do, I think hand over the keys to the castle, because I think that's where it starts to change, because Branson has a lot of powerful, rich, developing friends.
Well, here's the thing to think about with Jim Justice, too. You can question his business ability, sort of the same way with Trump, as we're seeing with Trump's tax returns. You can look at the many lawsuits that have been filed against Justice's companies by vendors, by the government itself trying to collect mine safety fines and fees and things of that nature. There's millions of dollars of those type of things. So you can question his business acumen perhaps, but you can't really question his ability at promotion. And let's be honest, 2016, when he ran as a Democratic candidate, what did people know about him? They knew that he owned the Greenbrier Resort. At that point, we had nearly, 6 years of the Greenbrier Classic, which was a huge event that still continues to bring positive headlines and attention to the state as far as the golf tournament. But not only the golf tournament, but take a look at the concert series he tried to do during
Aerosmith
that
played
time,
there.
that he more or less paid for out of his own pocket, where we had, Jimmy Buffett. Who would have thought Jimmy Buffett would play in West Virginia? Maybe 30 years ago when he was starting out, but I mean, coming here, we had all sorts of big ticket bands come to the state that anybody could really access, and it wasn't even a terribly expensive ticket to get. Justice was known for those events, and he was known for his promotion of those events, and people associated good feelings with him, and that's how he won in 2016. He's a good promoter, and if there's anything he's good at as governor, for sure, and there's things you can point to that have been good. The Roads to Prosperity program, Jobs and Hope, for substance abuse recovery and getting these people back into the job environment. You can even point to Hyperloop for sure, and some of the efforts they're doing there. But at the end of the day, he's a really good promoter, and you're seeing it through our division of tourism, and you're seeing it through again the changing perception of the state that he's worked on.
We're talking. Oh, go ahead, Biff.
No, I was going to say that to go back to Stephen's point about the Greenbrier. When you turned it on and watched it on TV, how many times would Jim Nance and even Nick Faldo comment about how they loved being here and they couldn't wait until next year to come back, and just went on and on about West Virginia? I mean, it was pretty much them as well saying, hey, look how great, we love it here. We can't wait to come back. Look at the promotion that they did for the state as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you're both right, and that helps. We're talking to Stephen Allen Adams. You can read his stuff in The Intelligencer. He follows state government all around for the Ogden newspapers. You guys are right about that. Jim Justice has been able to create opportunities for great promotion. And also, we played a little clip earlier from his election night speech. And the other thing we took from this, and I am a rah guy. Stephen actually worked for me years ago, and I think he would tell you that I was a raw guy. I like to keep people motivated. I get a little hot sometimes, and I say things, and I think it hopefully emboldens itself into people's minds and makes them want to do things. And last night, the governor finished up by saying, if you get in West Virginia's way right now, West Virginia is going to run over your ass. I personally can't get enough of that. I eat that stuff up because let's face it, take it back to the simplest of times when you were a little kid and you heard a swear word for the first time. And I am not advocating people to just start swearing at each other. It's not that. But to me, and I think it's been proven in studies that I've read over time, and I think probably everybody has seen this one by now, people that swear oftentimes are perceived as more trustworthy. And so, I mean, you know, the follow the bleep and guidelines thing was hilarious, especially in the context that it was in. But here was a man who was happy to be reelected governor and actually let his personality and passion collide at his acceptance speech on election night. And the imagery of this to me is West Virginia is now a freight train. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but in my mind, him saying those words, we're going to run over your ass if you get in West Virginia's way, it to me is bold, and it says, you know what, maybe we're coming back. Maybe we are unstoppable at this point. I eat that stuff up. I think it's great.
Well, it's an interesting comment, specifically when you think of just how well legislative candidates did. Like I said, in the Senate, Republicans were able to pick up 23 seats. That gives them a super majority. That means 2/3 vote. That means that they can start passing constitutional amendments. They can pass resolutions that will eventually become ballot initiatives for voters to vote on to update the Constitution if they want to do that. Or they can make changes to the budget. On the House side, 76 seats. 67 is a supermajority over there, 2/3. Point being, you know, you've got 11 Democrats in the Senate. You're now going to have 24 Democrats over on the House side. And with the governor in place, with a Board of Public Works that is now completely in Republican hands, with a Republican delegation that is almost all Republican except for U.S. Senator Joe Manchin. And incidentally, I'm going to be talking to him later today about the presidential vote count and about his role as, you know, the elder statesman in the Democratic Party in the state and where they go from here. But point being, they've got the votes to do a lot of things that they want to do. So they are kind of a freight train, so to speak. Now, that could be either good or could be bad. That could backfire on them here in 2 years if voters don't like what they see, or if, you know, the things that they push are not really things that they support. So we'll see what happens in 2 years and then 4 years. But right now, they have the ability to push through a lot of things that they've wanted to push through to try to, in their minds, help the economy or help spur job growth or help fix the education system in the state. Things like that, on and on and on. So they at this point, at least for the next 2 years, are a freight train.
Well, and I guess because you analyze politics, I love that that's where you went with it. I guess I just thought, as a citizen of the state of West Virginia, the fact that he was so candid and passionate about what he said there, to me, makes me believe that West Virginia, you can, and you especially, because this is your job, you can count every Democrat or every Republican and how they look. I just want to see how this can move forward. To complain about one side or another, at this point, I just want to see West Virginia thrive. And yeah, there's probably going to be some, like you said, they've got a stranglehold on everything pretty much in the state due to the Republicans. To me, that part is less concerning than what you do with it. And if you want to fire me up as a passionate person who loves the state of West Virginia, I think he accomplished that with his speech and made me believe that things can get better. One more thing I want to throw at you, Steve, unless you have a comment on that?
The only thing I would say about that, and I agree with that, and I think the tone really kind of sets it, is Justice is a coach. At the end of the day,
he's a basketball coach.
He is a basketball coach, Greenbrier. He will tell you he is a coach. And in his role as governor, he treats it in many ways as being a coach. And based on those comments, I don't think he wants it to be a Republican freight train or a Democratic freight train. He wants everybody to work together on this, and I think he will work together to try to get some bipartisan support for the things that they want to do.
I really hope they get that done. In our last closing minute here, Steve, and I didn't realize this until election night, and I started to look at the returns in different places. Our old pal Don Blankenship ran for president. I didn't notice until actually I read the returns.
Well, you're about to educate me because I haven't paid any attention to Don Blankenship's presidential
Yeah,
campaign.
well,
I will be honest. I haven't paid much attention to any third-party races, so you can educate me on this one. I don't know how he even did.
I don't know that. Well, he didn't. I mean, I think he may have gotten less votes than Kanye West. So if that is the education I can provide to you, then that's what I'll provide. But I was, I'm going through, and I don't know that he was on every. I don't know that he was on every state, but occasionally, like I'd look down the list, and for me, it kind of ended at Joe Jorgensen as kind of the third option, I guess you would say. And then occasionally you'd see Kanye West with like 20,000 votes in a state, and then Don Blankenship with like 3,300 votes in a state. And I was like, Don Blankenship was running for president in certain states. I just thought it was kind of interesting. And of course, I mean, we could do an entire segment on Don Blankenship and his relationship and things that he's done here in West Virginia, but we won't take that time. We've got to get rolling. But Steve, great to talk to you as always. I hope that you have recovered from your election night. Sounds like it was one that was pretty swift. And the idea that this was over so quickly that people were already in bed by 10 o'clock that attended the acceptance speech made by the governor tells you everything you need to know about that election. But as things continue to happen in the state, we will continue to call upon you to make them make sense to us. And how about next Wednesday? I'll be back in the afternoon, so would love to talk to you again.
It sounds like a date, Big Rick.
All right, pal. Good to talk to you. Stephen Allen Adams, read his stuff in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers all over the state of West Virginia. We will be back with more on the Watchdog.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news headlines from 7 News at WTRF, My Ohio Valley, and ABC Ohio Valley. Only on AM 1600 WKKX. The Watchdog.
Good morning, everyone. It's finally Friday. We made it. Taylor Long here with your 7 News headlines on this November the 6th. Starting off in the Friendly City this morning, Youth Services System's annual Wheeling Sleep Out is going virtual this year due to the pandemic. This is the 10th year for the event, which raises awareness and funds for youth facing homelessness. This year's theme is Home for the Holidays. Participants traditionally build cardboard structures at Miracle League Field, but they'll be doing it from home on December 4th. Organizers have also set their fundraising goal at $100,000, which is the highest amount in Wheeling Sleep Out history. In Marshall County now, the Benwood Fire Department is doing a Fill the Truck throughout the month of November. They are taking clothing and toy donations to help the Marshall County Caring Tree. You can drop off donations at the fire station from 1 to 5 on Saturdays and noon to 3 on Sundays. The deadline is December 8th. And in the Buckeye State, Ohio State Highway Patrol continues to investigate a fatal crash that occurred Wednesday afternoon on US 22 in Harrison County. 75-year-old Frederick Lloyd of Columbus was traveling eastbound when another vehicle went across the center line, striking his vehicle. Lloyd was transported to UPMC, where he succumbed to his injuries. The other driver was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Stay with 7 News for additional updates. That was a look at your headlines. Have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful and safe weekend, everyone.
Your voice, your vote. The vote's still being counted in a handful of battleground states. ABC's Tom Yamas takes a look at the map this morning, starting with President Trump in Pennsylvania.
He's on top by about 18,000 votes. There's still 160,000 ballots remaining. Those are a lot of Democratic-friendly counties. We know they're still counting in Philadelphia right now at this hour. For Joe Biden to take the lead in Pennsylvania, he's going to have to win 56% of the remaining vote, and Democrats think he can do that. Not much change in Nevada and North Carolina. Joe Biden on top in Nevada. The president's still on top in North Carolina. The race is tightening a little bit in Arizona. Joe Biden on top, but there's still a big chunk of vote that's still out.
The president claiming without substantiation last night that the vote is being stolen from him. Former Republican Congresswoman Barbara Comstock.
Well, it was reprehensible, and it not only was graceless, sore loser or anticipating being a loser, it is dangerous to our election integrity.
With continuing coverage, I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Can the Mountaineers beat a nationally ranked team twice in a matter of 8 days? We'll find out tomorrow. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone. And we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales. Plus, rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
It's a travel day for the Mountaineer football team. West Virginia making its way to Texas in preparation for tomorrow afternoon's shootout with the Longhorns. Texas enters the game nationally ranked, but to hear head coach Tom Herman talk, his team is still very much a work in progress.
There's times out there where, it feels like we're playing with 11 true freshmen that are playing in their, whatever it is, sixth ball game, because in the new system everything is different. Our guys are learning on the fly as fast as they possibly can. We're surviving right now because of the unity, the closeness of this team and its coaching staff. It's going to click at some point to where it clicks earlier than later in certain games. The common theme is a new defensive scheme, a new offensive scheme, a bunch of different new special team schemes with no spring practice, no summer, and a truncated training camp. And we're learning on the fly. We keep getting better. Our guys are excited to come to the building each and every day to get better. They know that they can. They have seen themselves play really, really well. There is some definite tangible improvement.
Texas head coach Tom Herman, last season's game was a tight one. West Virginia and Texas went into the fourth quarter with the Longhorns leading 21-17. Texas then outscored West Virginia in the final frame to win the game 42-31. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
From the Watchdog Network, right now, traffic. Here's the latest from the Robinson Auto Group Traffic Center.
Traffic near the Highlands, on Washington Avenue, and on the Fort Henry Bridge is all clear. Traffic near the Ohio Valley Mall, on 70 and 470, and on State Route 7 is flowing freely. The single-lane closure on Cherry Hill Road from Betty Zane Road to Short Creek Road will continue. The single-lane closures in both directions on US 40 from Fulton to Bethany Pike will continue. McCulloch Street under I-70 will continue to have single-lane closures. The Market Street overpass with reduction will continue. The single-lane closures on Route 2 under I-70 will continue. I-70 construction will continue westbound where crossovers are in effect. And all existing detours and closures will continue for the I-70 Bridges project. Follow Ohio Valley Traffic Report on Facebook, WTRF 7 News, and the Watchdog for updates.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the storm tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly sunny skies, a daytime high near 70 degrees, overnight low of 45. We're back in the low 70s again for your Saturday under mostly sunny conditions. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
Hi, this is Chris Lawrence from the Metro News News Team. Join us weekdays on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe for the latest regional news around West Virginia, along with news and weather from WTRF-TV and Bill DeFabio on sports. We give you the Ohio Valley's most comprehensive morning news right here on the Watchdog.
Follow us on Facebook for the latest news, show updates, podcasts, alerts, and live video streams from the Valley's only network dedicated to local, community-driven talk radio, The Watchdog. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-8255.
Welcome back to the Watchdog with the Rolling Stones on a Friday morning. I'm Big Rick in for Howard Monroe. He's doing just fine. Just took the day off. So you got me here with Biff, and things are moving along nicely, Biff, for us this morning. Had a lot of interesting conversation thus far. And for about 500 people that work for the sports mothership, ESPN, today was the last day. 300 layoffs and actually cut out 200 other jobs. ESPN has been reduction in force, the RIF, as many companies are calling it, and it is said to not include any of its on-air personalities, but many people in the ESPN family being laid off this morning. Ex-ESPN desk anchor star Bob Lee absolutely ripped ESPN for all these reported layoffs. There will be some names that you do recognize. A lot of these people are digital social people that come from ESPN. But, you know, ESPN covers everything, and you have to wonder. I mean, and you can equate this to a lot of things, and I'm not going to get into because it's something I'm so passionate about. I don't know what I'd say. But large radio companies, huge conglomerate radio companies are doing the same thing ESPN is doing. It's affecting a lot of people that I know personally on the radio side of it. Obviously, we hope and wish the best for our buddy John Butchergross, who was on the show last week when I was here. He is a stand-up guy, and he is a native of Steubenville, so right up the road. And hopefully everything is secure with that. But ESPN laying off another 300 and eliminating 200 more.
Yeah, and Butchergross, he was when they would have up in Steubenville, they would do like a charity, I think golf scramble or something up there for someone, and he was always involved, with that and everything. And you'd hear him occasionally, talk about where he came from in the valley, just kind of getting the name out there and everything. And I enjoyed him when he would call the Frozen Four and the hockey playoffs with Barry Melrose. I mean, listening to those two, it was fun. I mean, I really enjoyed it and everything. And a lot of good people they're letting go, and it's just, I mean, it's a shame, and you hate to see it, and hope everything for the best of them. And Bob Lee, my goodness. It seems like he's been there forever.
Sure. I mean, you think about the founding fathers of ESPN, at least how we knew it as kids, for those of us old enough to remember. ESPN, when it started, was showing the World's Strongest Man competition with, like, Bill Kazmaier. And you know what? We consumed it, and then we were interested in what the anchors had to say, when Boomer and Bob Lee... there's just so many things that I think about that I learned about sports from ESPN. And here's the double-edged sword to this. 500 people being let go from yesterday into today in the ESPN network there, and you have them paying hundreds and millions of dollars for the rights to football and to certain baseball. And so it's like, I get that they rely on those programs to make ESPN what it is, and everything is struggling. By no means, I I was saying this last night to a friend of mine. Actually, I think it was right after I called you, Biff. I was talking to a friend, and last night the Packers and 49ers play, which we'll get into here in a second. But that is so uber important to America that sports is on, but the price of it is so crazy, and the fact that there aren't any people. They played that game last night in California where no people are allowed in the seats. So the money that's driven by the NFL, which is usually to the tune of about $10 billion a year involved with NFL and NFL spending and purchasing, whether it be a sweatshirt, whether it be a ticket to a game, all those numbers are down, and the NFL is not going to all of a sudden cut ESPN a break and go, you know what, we realize times are tough, so we're going to go ahead and prorate your contract for the 2020 COVID rule and give you 40% back to pay your employees. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think another thing the NFL, if they're not, they probably should be worrying about is the fact that now, I think some people are conditioned to the fact that, you know what, we can kind of do without sports, and they're not watching. I think there's a part of the population that, they're probably like that now. We've been kind of conditioned now without, we see games and, there's no fans and everything there, and it's just like, okay, so how many people are actually just completely ignoring sports altogether? And look at the NBA. There's a reason why the NBA moved their start date before Christmas instead of after the first of the year, because the losses that they were going to take if they didn't get that deal done.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about hockey coming up here in the next hour. Our buddy DJ will be here from the Nailers, who are going to play hockey starting on December 12th, and the advantages of that. But you're right. I have noticed in my own life, and I mean, to say I was an uber sports fan would be an understatement of my love of sports, especially hockey. I'm a huge hockey fan. I still play hockey. In fact, my season as a hockey player was just canceled Wednesday night. We started our season. We played 4 games. We're 4 games in, and the COVID has claimed yet another hockey season from us. But again, just a beer league hockey team not getting COVID is deathly important, because none of us are playing for anything other than pleasure. And right now, a lot of things that we get pleasure from are things that we have to socially distance ourselves from and be close to our families as COVID cases are on the rise. And I feel like everything we talk about could essentially go back to COVID. And of course, this ESPN layoff also can be traced back to COVID. But I feel like you're right. We're not consuming sports the way we did. Because I thought too, being a hockey fan, when the NHL went into their bubble to crown a Stanley Cup champion, the Penguins played 4 games.
Yeah.
I watched all 4 of those games, and then I watched one more game, and that was it. And I mean, I am an avid hockey fan, but I wasn't interested, and I don't know if it's just because it was the time of year that it took place and my body is conditioned to only watch hockey during certain periods. I don't know. As far as the NBA goes, a desperate person to watch sports would watch it. NBA fans didn't even watch it, so getting that desperate sports fan for just some sort of competitive activity, it did not happen. And I mean, people contribute different reasons to that. I mean, a lot of people are saying that it was an oversaturation of the social movement in this country for Black Lives Matter, and the NBA certainly was involved heavily in that, and people are blaming that for the idea that they didn't watch sports. For me, it wasn't that. It's just I'm not an NBA fan, but the numbers are the numbers. That's usually something that does not lie. And the numbers for watching and viewing for the NBA in their bubble and through their finals, same with hockey, were abysmal compared to what they normally are. The NFL also down, I think, about 12 or 13% from people viewing the games. And I will say this, the games that I've watched this season have all been pretty competitive. There's been good football. And I think the NFL has done a nice job of making me forget there's nobody in the stands. People complain about the pumped-in crowd noise. I personally think it makes the game on TV feel a lot more like a game.
And you kind of get the fact that you hear it and it's like, well, there's a crowd there, and then you realize, no, it's not. That's just that's the crowd noise or whatever that they're bringing in, and it's nice to see that some stadiums are letting a percentage of the fans in and everything, and it's nice to see, and you kind of get the feeling, okay, it's a little bit here and there of getting back to where we were and everything, but we've had some games that haven't been that great, but I think for the most part, a lot of the games, yeah, I mean, they seem to be pretty competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it has been pretty good, considering these teams didn't have essentially the offseason that they normally would have. They didn't have training camp. I think the football has been good, although I think a lot of those major ACL injuries, which we've had dozens of in the NFL, to star players like Devin Bush from the Steelers, Saquon Barkley from the Giants, Dak Prescott had a brutal injury. That's not to say those things couldn't happen, but certainly your body is in a different condition than it would be if you played 4 preseason games and had a bigger camp. Last night, the NFL did play. There is Thursday night football. Those games are generally not good. Last night lived up to the billing of not that good. 34-17 win for the Packers, and just an abysmal offense last night for the 49ers. And of course, and this is where you got to wonder how, I think Scott Van Pelt calls it bad beats. Last night, 4 seconds left, San Francisco scores and actually screws up the line for everybody. So a lot of people that bet Packers, they did not win, even though the Packers won convincingly. Interesting news and I guess scores or schedule coming up this weekend. Really not a ton of overly notable games. The Ravens and the Colts will play. That's a pretty good matchup. I believe they have similar record or the same record. Ravens and Colts, that's Sunday at 1 o'clock. Nothing, it's just blowing your doors off. And of course, the big matchup for the Steelers, which you had circled if just a football fan, not even just a Steeler fan, but you had that circled. Steelers versus Cowboys. It's a legendary rivalry. They've been around. They've swapped Super Bowls. Like it's a big deal, except it's kind of not. Dak Prescott is out. They went out and got Andy Dalton to back him up, who was arguably the best backup quarterback in the league. Dalton is out, and so they're starting Ben DiNucci, who played football for Pitt, lost his job to Nathan Peterman, who was not very good at Pitt and certainly not a good NFL quarterback. Although, I mean,
ask Buffalo.
Yeah, ask Buffalo. But no trash talk to them because I'm not an NFL quarterback and never made it. So I can't dog them for it. But they were not good NFL quarterbacks. He transferred, Ben DiNucci did, to James Madison and played in Virginia, where he was fantastic. But again, he played at James Madison, not at Penn State, not at Michigan.
One of the bigger known schools.
He played at James Madison. He's also a kid that graduated high school from Pine Richland right in the Pittsburgh area. So there will be plenty of a pocket of people rooting for Ben DiNucci to basically not get killed in this game. He was not effective in the last game against another terrible team. He will play the number 1 defense in the NFL coming up on Sunday, 4/25. And you just have to hope that Ben DiNucci makes it through. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who the backup quarterback is to Ben DiNucci at this point. He's third on the depth chart, so they had to go sign a guy who I think, actually, you know what? I think this guy may have been the backup quarterback in Cleveland last year when the fight with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph started.
Oh, okay.
I think it may be that guy. I'll have to check and make sure, but I think it might be that guy. But yeah, really not a whole lot of notable matchups. The Cardinals are playing well. They're playing the Dolphins, who are coming on with Tua at the helm. Only other notable game Sunday night: Buccaneers v. Saints. That's coming up 8:20. Buccaneers coming on, Saints coming on. Should be a good one.
Brady and Breeze.
Brady and Breeze. How does it get any better than watching a Brady and Breeze football game? I don't know, but that's probably the gem of the weekend. We're going to wrap up this segment. We'll be back. Our man DJ from the Nailers is coming in. We're going to talk hockey on the Watchdog.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Joe Biden just taking the lead in the vote count in Pennsylvania now, up by about 500 votes, 135,000 votes more to count. Biden also now leading in Georgia, and the counties that remain to be tallied there overwhelmingly Democratic. Biden is leading in the vote counts in Arizona and Nevada, although President Trump has cut into the Biden lead in Arizona. To Phoenix and ABC's Alex Stone.
Underway right now here in Arizona and next door in Nevada, the very detailed work of authenticating and then counting the votes. Neither state has indicated if they could be done today. In fact, here in Maricopa County, officials have said they may need to go into tomorrow as they work inside the elections office. Outside, pro-Trump crowds have been gathering, claiming if Trump doesn't win, then it's fraud, something there is no indication of in Arizona or Nevada.
But that's not stopping the president from making claims of fraud.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
While many Republicans are distancing themselves from the president's allegations,
some of President Trump's Republican allies are lining up behind him, echoing his baseless claims about illegal voting and widespread fraud without providing evidence. Senator Lindsey Graham last night said he was donating $500,000 to the president's legal defense fund so he can fight the vote counting in key battleground states. Senator Ted Cruz, once a bitter rival of Mr. Trump's, also encouraging the president to continue to take legal action and urged the Justice Department to, quote, follow the law. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
The government reporting this morning that unemployment in the U.S. has dropped to 6.9%, but U.S. job growth slowed again to 638,000 in the face of the surging pandemic. The U.S. has gained back only half of the jobs lost to the pandemic this year. For the week that ended on Election Day, the number of COVID-19 cases in the U.S. increasing by 20%. More than 604,000 new cases in that time, according to a Department of Health and Human Services memo obtained by ABC News. You're listening to ABC News.
Allstate now has deeper savings, and deeper savings require deep thoughts and a deep voice, like mine. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise, and save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. As someone once said, saving today is money tomorrow. That's deep.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. Drive-bys is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Some gifts say, I care about you. Some gifts say, I'm going to wow you. This year, one gift says both. It's the new Oral-B IO, the electric toothbrush with the irresistible design that dentists will find irresistible for another reason. It improves oral health by delivering the wow of a professional clean feel at home every single day. This year, give the gift of wow. The Oral-B IO. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
While Americans are watching and waiting to see the final outcome of the presidential election, so are people around the world. ABC's Tom Rivers at the foreign desk in London.
In Britain, it's no different, where comments are calmly restrained. UK Business Minister Nadhim Zahawi.
We will congratulate whoever is the occupant of the White House. The relationship between London and Washington will always remain very close and very special.
The big issue for London, for whoever wins, can they produce a quick post-Brexit trade deal? Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
The former Hurricane Eta now looking to ramp back up again. It's a tropical depression moving off the coast of Belize and into the Caribbean after hammering several Central American countries with days of wind and torrential rain. Mudslides are blamed for at least 50 deaths. Now the storm expected to get stronger again over the next couple of days. A panel of experts set to meet today to decide on recommendations to the FDA about a drug that $500,000 by the NFL and stripped of a 6th-round draft pick for repeatedly violating coronavirus safety rules. The team was fined earlier this year after head coach John Gruden was caught not wearing his mask properly during a game. This is ABC News.
Now at Lowe's, we're saying thanks to our pros in more ways than ever before during our Provember event. We have deals on the brands you trust, like DeWalt, Spyder, and Metabo HPT. We also have credit options you won't want to miss. Plus, for 5 days only, November 9th through the 13th, bring in an old bucket from one of our competitors and get a brand new 5-gallon Lowe's branded bucket free. Just one more reason why we're the new home for pros. Limit 1 bucket per customer while supplies last. U.S. only.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
The United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley is very proud of those that have jumped into action, helping the community through the restrictions in place due to COVID-19. All year long, we connect community-minded businesses and people to agencies serving the toughest needs. Now we have a Community Response and Recovery Fund to assist agencies in helping families in crisis due to this pandemic. 100% of your donations will stay local. You can donate at unitedwayuov.org/give.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together we will get through this.
Are you or your loved ones facing a serious legal battle? The law office of Paul Harris wants you to know you aren't alone. Do you need someone that's not afraid to go to trial and fight for your rights? Attorney Paul Harris and his team are willing to go where most firms are not. The courtroom. With a successful track record in civil litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
Hello, I'm Chuck Reddick, Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. We're working hard to get ready for tax filing season. You know who else is working hard? Identity thieves. Keep your computers and your mobile phones secure. Use antivirus software and strong passwords. Look out for email scams. Secure your home Wi-Fi with a password. Stay safe when you shop online. Look for HTTPS in the web address. See irs.gov for details.
The Original Undo's in Benwood is the perfect place to enjoy the big game, great food, and the company around you. The outdoor patio is the best kept secret in Marshall County, featuring plenty of big screen HD TVs, an outdoor beer garden, and NFL and MLB packages so you don't miss a second of the action. With the holiday season fast approaching, don't forget about Undo's Catering. Perfect for holiday parties, family gatherings, conferences, weddings, or any event large or small. Check out undos.com for menus, specials, entertainment, and more. Undo's Family Restaurants, family owned since 1953.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm loving living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Babies come with lots of decisions.
Cloth or disposable? Crib or bassinet?
So when it comes to protection, go with the safest, most effective choice, vaccination. Get all the recommended vaccines for your baby by age 2 to protect your child against 14 serious childhood diseases. For more reasons to vaccinate, talk to your child's doctor. Go to cdc.gov/vaccines or call 800-CDC-INFO. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly sunny skies, a daytime high near 70 degrees, overnight low of 45. We're back in the low 70s again for your Saturday under mostly sunny conditions. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Good morning, everyone.
Do you like spicy food?
I hate Mexican food.
Oh, well, in that case.
Today is Nacho Day. You got a National Nacho Day. Who knew there was such a thing?
Sure like nachos. Problem is they're nacho.
Nacho! Let's make nachos. Nachos.
Nacho, man.
Happy National Nachos Day.
It's showtime.
Some teams aren't playing, but not Joe's. Your team is playing. The Wheeling Nailers are back. I'm Big Rick in this morning for Howard Monroe. It is 10 minutes after 9, and DJ Abasella is here, our boy from the Wheeling Nailers. He is the voice of the Nailers. He's also the social media presence of the Nailers, and I got a few words for you that maybe not everybody will get.
Okay.
The tubes are laid out.
Yes.
And that means the ice is coming.
Yeah, I was down at the arena yesterday going over a couple things, just taking a peek, seeing how a few things are lined up. I was chatting a little bit also with Billy, our trainer, and Billy, our equip manager, Dan, our trainer. And yeah, it's good to see the tubes are getting laid out. So it's the same system that they used last year, the one that was put in by Everything Ice. So you have all the big hard plastic tubes on the end opposite the Zamboni end, and you've got all the little tubes that come out of it. So you've got some of the tubes that run the freezing solution down, and then some of it feeds it back up to get recycled back down again. So that's and they'll put the ice right on top of those tubes and freeze it. So that should be done. I want to say not next week, but the week after, I believe, is when we will officially see ice in downtown Wheeling again, which is wonderful.
Oh, it warms my bones on this 72-degree Friday. You know, it is going to be a beautiful day. It is odd to think that we are approaching hockey with this weather. I mean, technically, hockey should be already in full swing.
Yeah.
But we'll take it. We're very glad as our Nailers on December 12th will play the Indy Fuel.
I'll tell you what, I love making posts like that, like with the rink, just because, like, there's stuff that we do that gets decent reactions, but as soon as I put anything like the rink or that something's coming soon, the likes, like I got 100 likes in an hour for that yesterday. I was like, there we go, that was easy.
Hey, you know what? If nothing else, I mean, you and I and Biff obviously are passionate about this team and this sport, but you know, the ice is where it starts. If we've got no ice, we've got no hockey. So to see that progress is being made, and I've had a lot of people, and I'm sure you've had this over the years too, people have no idea how the ice gets there. They're like, where does the ice go? I'm like, it melts. Like, where does all ice go? You know, at the end of the season, you don't, like, they think, does it live there? What happens to it? And they just, I mean, people have asked me, do they just pour water on it and it freezes? And I'm like, do you really think that that's how this happens? And when I was probably in 12th grade, so in like 1995, I was playing in a game at a place that's long gone, in Monroeville, an ice rink there, and basically one of the tubes, Like the ice was terrible. One of the tubes got cut, and then the solution started to shoot out of the ice that was thin in one of the ends. And so it was like, not antifreeze, but that's essentially what
That
it
would have
looked
been.
like.
That probably would have been your Freon.
Yeah, your Freon was just squirting out of the back of the. It's like, what is happening here? So the fact that we have ice in motion is good, and the fact that we have players on this team is good. And you are teasing, and I know I'm not going to be able to get you to drop the name.
You only have to wait an hour and 45 minutes.
I
to get
know.
It too.
We're looking for a huge announcement today.
Yeah, one of our former leading goal scorers. He hasn't played here for a few years, but it's going to be a big signing. So we're super excited to have this player coming back again, and he's excited to be back here too.
I think that people cannot understand or over appreciate how difficult this is right now to field a team for not only the Nailers, but the other teams that are actually going to start playing. And all the teams in the ECHL are not going to be playing this year. But we have we're starting with 8 and then
13.
13, and then 2 or 3 more rolling in.
Don't know, there's 11 that have the opportunity to come in later on, so it's just a matter of how many of those 11 decide that they're going to do it.
Okay.
Hopefully it's a high number and you get as big of a league as you usually do. So far, only 2 have opted completely out, Atlanta and Norfolk.
What was the deciding factor? I think this is kind of an interesting thing as we're seeing league struggle. By the way, last night, an NFL game happened where a player in that locker room had tested positive. So the idea of things changing and not shutting down entire teams from not playing games. So I don't know if we're seeing more information on how to successfully play a game with somebody who may have contracted COVID or not. But what was the deciding factor that the Wheeling Nailers are in?
I think just the fact that we could do it, the fact that we had the support of everybody to be able to, first of all, hold the games, the fact that we can work with the folks at the health department, the city level, the state level, and hopefully get the fan situation sorted out so that we can move forward with that. I think those were the 2 biggest things, just to have that support that, you can make this happen if you do things the right way. And that's been the biggest key, is every step of the way. It's making sure, they've got all the plexiglass in front of the concession. So that's a big step, and making sure that you can socially distance people. And obviously you're going to have rules on having to wear masks. It's just being able to make sure that you can check all the boxes and, okay, can you do this safely? Yes. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, I think it's nice, too, that we have such a beautiful arena, the West Banco Arena here, to be able to do this in. I mean, all the hard work that was put into kind of revamping the arena. And you walk in, and I would venture to say there aren't too many nicer entrance ways to ECHL hockey leagues. I mean, I've been to a few of these places. I've been to where the Everblades play, and then to where the Swamp Rabbits play. And those are nice places, but that's also on a college campus of Clemson. So you're going to get that sweet Clemson money for a city arena. This is a nice place we have to play here, and for it to not be used would be a shame. And I'm going to ask you, since last time we talked, did the cheerleading competition happen in there?
Yes.
Okay, how did that go? Because that had to tell you some things about how the entrance policies, the mask policies, and things like that are going to work.
I heard nothing but good out of it, so I'm assuming that it went well.
Good.
So that's a good scenario. But yeah, it's funny. I was talking to John Culler yesterday from Beyond Marketing, who does a lot of work with us, and just kind of talking about what the arena is like. And I said, you know what? It's cool because you've got some of the new modern bells and whistles. Like you get the new scoreboard, you get the new entrance, all the new seats. But it also has that old school kind of hockey arena charm to it that really makes it a fun place to play.
Yeah, we're talking to DJ Abasella. Of course, he is your voice of the Wheeling Nailers, and we're getting ready for Nailer season, although it doesn't seem like it with these unseasonable warm temperatures. But hockey is hockey, and we'll take it. A lot of games going to start the season against the Indy Fuel. They are probably our closest opponents. So we've got the first, 4 of the first 8?
Yeah, should be. What do we have? It's 5 of the first 10, so yeah, take away 5 of the first 7, something like that. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Indy out of the chute.
That's okay. We're definitely looking forward to that. And really, I think the thing that is, and you do a great job of veiling this team in mystery. Oh, we're going to have a player signing it. It's like you could sit back there and go through all the old media guys and try to figure out who's playing. You still refuse to bring back Smilin' Mylin for me, which I don't love that you will not bring him back. But and we've talked about the construction of this team so far. How is Coach French handling this now? What are the players doing that know that they're going to be here? And we'll get into kind of some players that may actually just show up from the bigger club. But what is the process right now? What are the players and coaches doing?
This is kind of the funny thing because I'm almost running out of time. Like I feel like I'm caught up with signings, and I was talking to Brian, our alternate governor, last night, and he's like, "I think we're getting 2 more forwards." I'm like, "Holy cow!" I'm thinking to myself, all right, training camp's coming in a few weeks here. I'm going to try to squeeze all these guys in, and like it's going to be wild. The affiliate question's that's the $1 million question right now because like Mark has built it, and I'll give Derek a tip of the cap too, the assistant coach, because they both work together very hard on this, but they've pretty well built a strong team for here regardless of what happens. So now if you're going to put some affiliate players into this equation, man, it's going to get tight really fast, and there's going to be some fantastic battles during training camp to see who survives and makes this team. I mean, it's funny because like you said earlier, it can be pretty hard to recruit a team and to build a team, but man, like Mark and Derek are making this look like it's a walk in the park this summer with just how many they've been able to get, the talent level that they've been able to get. I mean, the fact that you're bringing in somebody who led this team in goals at one point, the fact that they're still on the table with about a month until we start, the fact that I'm doing another one next week who has been a leading scorer in this league before as well, like the fact that those players are still out there and this fact that you can snatch them up and bring them in here, I mean, that just tells you, and I've heard people too talk about the goaltending because that's the one position where we haven't announced any of our own because Pittsburgh has 5 under NHL contracts, 1 under AHL contracts. So in a normal year, you would obviously get 2 from that. So we're kind of watching that. But at the same time, people are like, well, what if you don't for whatever reason, name whatever thought you want to? It's like, look, there's still, like the free agent market is just huge right now. Like there's still a lot of players who are trying to figure out where they want to play, what they want to do, and there's not as many options like we talked about. We've already had a couple of teams from this league drop out. There's teams in Europe, there's leagues in Europe that aren't playing. And then there are players that if they look at it go, you know what? ECHL, December, AHL, February. ECHL's playing all 72, AHL, don't know yet. You know what? Maybe getting a 72-game season under my belt's not the worst idea in the world.
No, and I think Wheeling is an attractive place to play.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of those players, not only is there a great history of Nailers and what Wheeling has to offer, but the looks that they're going to get in this early season, because we've talked about this before, and I don't mean to keep beating on it, but I think it really stands to reason that there's going to be an influx of focus on Wheeling and on the ECHL in general, because it is the hockey that is consumable in hockey time.
Yes.
I mean, yes, now is technically hockey time, but the closest thing we're going to get to hockey and hockey time is December 12th or the 11th, I guess is when the season starts for the league. And it's going to be in the ECHL. So I just think that some of these guys who may I could hang out and get AHL things going in February. So that would probably be December, that they could possibly find a team and make a team or be assigned to a team. I think you're right. And the Penguins drafted, 2 goalies?
Yes, you won't see those 2 because they're going to keep them over in Europe this year to start out. So.
Well, it makes sense because they're both European, aren't they?
Yes.
So for them to stay and not have to come here. I mean, at the end of the day, we try to think about moving through life post-COVID.
Yeah.
We're not in post-COVID. We're in actual COVID. So I'm sure they're not going to bring these guys to America when they can stay safer, probably staying at home.
You want to put them in a situation where they can have success. So,
sure.
And as normal as possible. So 18 years old, you're playing in your home country, you're comfortable, you know the level of play there. So that's as normal as they can get. And you still have, because thank you technology, the coaches, the Penguins are still watching these games, so you can still work with the players. You know, you may not be able to actually physically, okay, here's what you want to do positionally and have them, you know, work hand in hand with that, but you can still review games with them and say, okay, you know what, maybe you want it to be closer to your post when you're pushing off here. Maybe you want to be better laterally here. Like, you can still work with them and still have that be a successful situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting the way, I mean, my goodness, you know, NFL teams put together an entire training program in camp virtually. That is still, I mean, we can take this away from hockey for a second here. It blows my mind how quickly businesses, companies, sports franchises, I mean, I know schools is a different story because people are still really struggling on the school end of virtual learning, but how some of these teams and companies have been able to transfer everything and be able to successfully coach online. I mean, it is mind-blowing that, I mean, virtual playbooks and and just the mocks, you know, the mocks and the models that they're creating to show players with positions. It's unbelievable. And I just wonder, and maybe you'd be the guy to ask, when, you know, when the team is sitting in the training room, and they're collectively watching video together, it's probably not as technologically insightful to be in the same room as it is to be able to have that on your PC at home, joining a group of people that are all watching the same. I would imagine it's more technical and the information may even be clearer because it has to be.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a few years ago, like, if you did video, that was a good plus. Like, that was a nice thing for you as a coach to have. Now, like, that's not even a question. You have to do it. You have to have it. That is a mandatory part of what you do. But we now have programs where the coaches will go in and they will cut players' individual shifts. So, like, let's say that Michael...
Really?
Yeah. So, like, let's say we have Michael Pellick, and Pellick wants to see all of his shifts. Like, Derek and Mark will put it together, and they'll just label it all. Okay, here's your 30 shifts, Pellick. There you go. You can watch everything. And, like, they'll mark everything throughout the games. Like, they have all these, their keyboard has stickers on them where, like, they can label, like, okay, power play, penalty kill, offensive zone draw, a defensive zone chase. Like, if the opposing team dumps it in and we chase and go back and start a breakout. Like, they have everything labeled so they can go back and look and see what they're doing. Face-offs. I mean, that's simple as it goes. Like, what are we looking like on face-offs? First of all, your centerman. Are your wings going in to help out? Where are your Ds at? Like, they literally will cut everything. Goalies, too. You can have them cut every save, every goal. What are we looking at here? Like, it is as thorough can be. And that's just for us. Forget, like, now with the opposing teams, too. Like, we're going to see Indy a lot. So you're going to be looking, but let's take Orlando, because Orlando comes in second. So we won't see Orlando as much, but you'll do a pre-scout on Orlando. Look at all their tendencies. Look at what their power play does, what their penalty kill does. Like, there's literally no mysteries, and everything is so hands-on visual. It's incredible.
That really is incredible. We use, in my opinion, analytics is so overused in sports. Now, I get why people use it because numbers don't lie. I mean, they don't. But the fact that you can break that down to its, like, purest form, I think, in my estimation, probably makes the games too even. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Watching the Nailers blow out the Solar Bears by 9 on Game 2 will make me happy. I mean, I will smile. But it doesn't happen that way so much because at some point there's so much information. Like, okay, this guy comes down the left wing and he fakes a shot. I mean, this is his move. We do know a lot about other players. So it doesn't seem to run away as much as it used to. And that was something the ECHL was known for. When you have guys that are down from the A and they're top caliber, players that are NHL potential. Yeah. And so you would see these guys go out there and single-handedly. I mean, I remember watching, Kuhnackel play down here, and I'm just like, that guy's got the potential to be at a higher level. And ultimately, his name is etched on the Stanley Cup. So he did have that opportunity. Speaking of players, go ahead.
I'll tell you the two things that I noticed, like, because you're right, there's no mysteries. Like, you can't very much hide anything, and you know a lot. The two things that I noticed the most that make a big difference in today's game, because everything is so out there and so open, is mistakes. Like, that's, if you make it, the more mistakes, that's where it's going to hurt you.
Sure.
Like, that's one of the biggest things you look at is, okay, who's making the fewest mistakes is going to win. And it may sound a little bit cliche too, but this, you can't underestimate this either, is which team works the hardest. And I know you can't physically see hard work, but there is definitely a theory of who wants it more is going to get it. And like, I can tell sometimes going into a game, like, you can just feel it watching the two teams and go, okay, you know what? This team seems like it's ready to go. This team maybe not. Like, I remember the finals year, 2016. We were actually down in Florida. We were playing the Everblades in Game 6. If we won the series. If they won, we go to Game 7. And I watched the two teams during warm-ups or during pregame skate in the morning. And Wheeling was just this quiet confidence, knew what they had to do, was going to get the job done. I was like, wow, like, we're winning Game 6 tonight. There's not a chance in the world that we're not. Like, just to see where the players' heads were, and you knew that they were going to do whatever it took that night to win. And then you had Florida, who in the morning was very loosey-goosey, and I was like, hey, there's a lot of nervous energy in that group right now. And you could see going into the game, you knew Florida was going to bring it because, you know, their season's on the line. So they did. They went up 1-0. But the longer it stayed 1-0, I was like, this thing's turning. If we tie this, we're winning this, because if we get one, we're a business mentality, and they're going to, you know, freak out. And sure enough, we tied it. We ended up winning 2-1, and it was like, yep. I pretty well I could have told you that was going to happen.
Just from just because I've been there, and I actually lived in that era, in the Estero, Florida area where the Everblades arena is. It's the Hertz Arena now.
Yep.
I don't know what it was called. I can't remember.
Germain.
Germain.
Car place.
Yeah, the Germain.
One car place to another.
Yeah, seriously. Well, there's a huge Hertz dealership there. But I will say this. If you are going to come and concentrate on hockey in the ECHL, living in Estero, Florida, has a lot of distractions.
Yes.
A lot of distractions. Living in Wheeling, when they get here, and these guys get here, and we've talked about this, there is going to be, I mean, we all now are using the word bubble so liberally, that it's like, but there is going to be a standard and a bubble-ish idea that players are not going to be allowed to go out and do things and things like that. And they're aware of that when they sign these contracts, that they're going to come in and have to live in a certain manner without going out. I'd much rather be in Wheeling because you can do that easier than, Florida, in their lack of rules, I guess, right now as far as COVID goes. And these things all could change because the numbers are going up. To keep Wheeling's players safe and to be a player that needs to stay safe, Wheeling, I think, offers you a much better chance of not, if you follow the rules, of being healthy and being a lot less distracted, so you can concentrate on hockey. So I think an advantage lives there for the Nailers, because it's not, I'm not dogging Wheeling. I mean, there's plenty of good places to go and do things and eat and enjoy, but in Estero, Florida, there's a lot of different distractions that you don't have here. I think you can concentrate on hockey a lot more here.
I was going to say, you don't want to live in Orlando where the Church Street is, right up the street from the Amway Center. You can walk to it from the building.
No, I'm pretty sure. I you know what? I did my time in Florida, and I don't ever want to do it again. In fact, I don't ever want to leave this area again. I love it here. People that, if you think the grass is greener, I always encourage people to go and follow their dreams. And I mean, that does cause a lot of people to leave West Virginia for different reasons. But man, you see a lot of people come back.
Yeah.
Like, you just, at the end of the day, and it wasn't, for me, it wasn't even so much that the grass is greener. It's just, we work interesting businesses. I mean, you call hockey games. So there's only so many hockey teams. I'm a radio guy. There are only so many radio stations. So it's not like if you become an accountant, that's great, because numbers exist in every business everywhere. Everybody that is exchanging cash needs an accountant. And so you have your opportunity. But for people that work in the media like we do, we go where the jobs are. And so that's why I went to Florida, and I immediately learned I don't need this job enough to live here in Florida. I couldn't wait to come back, and I'm very glad to be here. I did want to talk to you about the newest nailer that we do know about.
Yes.
We're talking about Matt
Alfaro.
Alfaro.
Yep.
Matt Alfaro, and it looks like Matt's coming to us from the University of Calgary. He's
the Dinos.
The Dinos.
I love that jersey and that logo. Look that up if you get a chance.
Yeah,
University of Calgary Dinos.
I see it right here, and it looks like a red version of Barney with a cool tail. But the Dinos, if you're playing hockey at the University of Calgary and you're leading that team in scoring last season, you're probably a guy that can put the puck in the net.
And he's got some grit, some size to his game, too. He's a good 6'2" center, so you're looking at him being strong in the faceoff circle as well, playing with that edge in addition to being able to be a scorer. So he's got a lot of different attributes that make him a talented player. And I like it because Canadian University has really grown in the last, I want to say 5 years, where originally it was looked at as not being as sexy because everybody looked at major junior and goes, okay, like the QMJHL, the OHL, and the WHL, because that's where a lot of your number one picks are coming from. Like this year, Alex Lafreniere to the Rangers comes out of Rimouski in the Q.
Still breaks my heart. We were so close.
I know. So you've got that, look where everybody's like, okay, major junior's the king of Canada. Got it. Okay. NCAA in the United States, because you get a lot of good players out of there. But Canadian University. So you're probably not going to get a lot of future NHLers out of Canadian University.
Like Sid was never going to go to a Canadian, especially 15 years ago when he would have been college aged.
Right.
He was not going to go to a Canadian university. He went to Rimouski, and of
Yeah.
course, and I think that's probably why the hotness of Rimouski exists. And then you have a guy like McDavid that played for the Erie Otters.
Yes, exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. Like that's got the aura that you're looking for. But what Canadian University has, what I think is great for this league is, so most of those guys, it's 5 years there. They finish major junior and go play there. So you're looking at them about 25 years old. So that's why I say, okay, the NHL window's probably closed because the NHL is getting younger every year.
Unless you're the Penguins.
But 25 years old, that's pretty solid for this league because they have experience. They have maturity.
I was going to say,
that's a
head
big
on their
one.
shoulders, yeah.
That's a big one. You get a 20-year-old versus a 25-year-old. You may say, oh, it's only a 5-year gap.
You're a different person.
Oh, it's a completely different world. And strength, too, where your body's had more time to develop. I can't tell you how many players on the younger scale where you're like, they need to get bigger. They need to get stronger. And, being in a league with 24, 25-year-old guys as opposed to major junior who may be playing a 20-year-old against a 15, 16, 17-year-old, it's a world of difference. You have to ultimately grow because otherwise you're going to get tossed around like you're nothing.
It sounds like from our conversations that we've had the last couple of weeks, we have a big team.
I think it's a balanced team. I think that's one of the biggest things, and I think that's one of the reasons why last year wasn't as strong as it could have been because there wasn't as much balance. There were too many one-dimensional players, and I know some of them people absolutely love, but you look at some of them and you go, you know what? Yeah, they may have been able to score goals, but they weren't willing to throw a body into a corner,
Two-way
win
hockey.
a puck battle, go to the front of the net, and that's what I feel like some of these guys I talk to, and all I hear is, I'm a two-way guy, I'm a two-way guy, I'm a two-way guy, and I'm like, holy gosh, this is the new cliche of how these guys want to describe themselves. But you know what? It's not a bad thing because you look at what's helped us the years that we had good success and went to the playoffs was ultimately defending. We've had good scoring years and hasn't necessarily done stuff for us because we've given up too much. Like, you still have to play some defense to be able to win in this sport.
Well, just for all hockey fans, just remember your favorite player may come and go, and you can be mad at your team for letting them go. But at the end of the day, nobody loves anything more than celebrating a championship.
Right.
You'll find a new favorite player. I'm not saying to not be loyal. I'm just because I was brokenhearted when Patrick Hornquist was traded to the Panthers. I love Hornquist. I loved his game. I loved his grit. I loved him in front of the net. And I'm just like, if it's for the betterment of the team, and we'll see about that on the Penguin level. But DJ, thanks for stopping by.
Sure thing.
We are so pumped about the Nailers coming back, and I cannot wait for the 12th. I have cleared my schedule. I want some hockey in my life, and I am ready for it. Thank you, pal. It's good to see you, and we will be back and wrap it all up on the Watchdog.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News. I'm Shauna Johnson. For a second consecutive day, the number of new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. is above 100,000, a higher threshold than at any other point in the coronavirus pandemic, reporting from the COVID Tracking Project. Analysis from the New York Times has West Virginia still on the list of more than 40 states where new COVID-19 case numbers are considered higher and staying high. Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Ohio are also on that list. Thursday was a record day for new cases in Ohio. Governor Mike DeWine says every county in Ohio is currently seeing high incidence. State data in Maryland shows a county in western Maryland, Allegheny County, now has one of the highest COVID-19 case rates anywhere in that state. West Virginia officials talk about the latest case numbers during a briefing that's scheduled to start next hour. You can watch it at wvmetronews.com. Students from all grade levels in Taylor County are joining calls for a return to 4 days of in-person school instruction per week. Taylor County's currently on a blended schedule. A protest was staged Thursday at Grafton High School. The city of Huntington is the latest to see its Christmas parade canceled, a decision from the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce. And we're heading into a mild weekend for November in the Mountain State. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. A work release inmate in Wood County reported as an escapee is back in law enforcement custody today. Officials with the State Division of Corrections say 41-year-old Curtis Jesse Hatfield was tracked to Mingo County, the Del Barton area. He's being held today at the Mount Olive Correctional Complex. A Clarksburg City Council member who was shot and wounded during an alleged carjacking at his Harrison County home in September is getting back to work. Jim Malfrageau was part of Thursday's Clarksburg City Council meeting. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Shauna Johnson.
Your voice, your vote. Joe Biden has just taken the lead in the state of Pennsylvania, surpassing President Trump by about 5,500 votes. There are still 135,000 left to be counted. Biden also leads in Georgia and Arizona, but it is still way too close to project. President Trump claiming last night the election was being stolen from him. Here's ABC's Karen Travers in Washington.
Some of President Trump's Republican allies are lining up behind him, echoing his baseless claims about illegal voting and widespread fraud without providing evidence. Senator Lindsey Graham last night said he was donating $500,000 to the president's legal defense fund so he can fight the vote counting in key battleground states. Senator Ted Cruz, once a bitter rival of Mr. Trump's, also encouraging the president to continue to take legal action and urged the Justice Department to, quote, follow the law. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
A cascade of threats from Trump supporters at vote counting sites in Phoenix, Detroit, and Philadelphia last night. With continuing coverage, Sherry Preston, ABC News.
This is your VSIN Action Update on the Watchdog. This Action Update brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, your professional parts people. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Pitt Panthers headed to Tallahassee, first time since 1982. They're a 2-point underdog against the Seminoles tomorrow. The total 51 at Doak Campbell Stadium. Penn State has dropped out of the top 25 after a pair of losses to start the season. They're laying 25 at home against Maryland at Beaver Stadium, where Penn State has failed to cover the spread in 6 straight. The total 64. Today in college football, number 11 Miami, a 10.5-point road favorite at North Carolina State, while number 9 BYU is laying 3.5 at 21st ranked Boise State. The total on the blue turf 62. For vsin.com, I'm Mike Sennett on the Watchdog.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the storm tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly sunny skies, a daytime high near 70 degrees, overnight low of 45. We're back in the low 70s again for your Saturday under mostly sunny conditions. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
Hi, this is Shauna Johnson from Metro News. Join us weekdays on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe for the latest regional news from West Virginia and beyond, along with news and weather from WTRF TV and Bill DeFabio Sports. We give you the Ohio Valley's most comprehensive morning news right here on The Watchdog.
The perfect cure for your quarantine blues. The Watchdog on Facebook Live. Watch The Watchdog weekdays on Facebook Live, beginning with the morning show with Howard Monroe at 7 a.m. Local talk radio, Watchdog style. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-8255.
All I can think of is Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze. Two of the best. You remember that great bit from Saturday Night Live? I'm Big Rick filling in for Howard Monroe today. It's 9:44, wrapping up the show. Biff, thank you so much. You've been a savior this morning, keeping me from doing anything too stupid I couldn't recover from. So I appreciate that. And as we get ready to wrap up, we started the show talking about, the hottest topic in the world is the continuing saga that is, who is the president? And there have been some movements, obviously, as we've played news all morning. You've heard some of those updates. Still boils down to this. 253 right now electoral college votes for former Vice President Joe Biden. President Trump has 213, and here is the breakdown. Any two states for Biden will actually win this. Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, or Georgia. Any combination of the two of those will put him over 270, or if he outright wins Pennsylvania. For President Trump, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Georgia. He has to win 3 of those and Pennsylvania. So it is an uphill climb for President Trump to actually be named president. He doesn't seem to think that, but that is just how numbers work.
It's really right now on the verge of being over because former Vice President Joe Biden is leading in Pennsylvania by about 5,500 votes now. He is leading in Georgia. He is leading in Nevada. He's even leading in Arizona. The only state that he is not leading currently in right now is North Carolina. So, I mean, it's pretty much, it's all but over, really. I mean, I guess all they're waiting for, and I don't know exactly how many votes, they have left in Pennsylvania, but I'm sure once they're done, I mean, borrowing a complete turnaround in Pennsylvania, it would appear as though Pennsylvania is going to be the state that actually clinches the presidency for Biden.
I understood this morning before we started that Allegheny County, which is where Pittsburgh is, had 35,000 votes left to be counted. So maybe they have already gotten through all of those, or at least they're on their way through that. The president has said this morning, Donald Trump has told everyone he has no plans to concede, even if his path to victory is blocked. I mean, we could go into a whole 3 hours about some of the things that the president has said in the last 24 hours, but it also worth note as people expect, with what seems to be, like you said, Biff, a pending victory for former Vice President Joe Biden. Did you have something?
I was going to say, you look now in Arizona, Biden leads by 47,000 votes. Georgia is the closest. It's 1,000. Nevada is 11,000 for Biden. Trump in North Carolina is 76,000. He leads by, but I mean, really, right now, North Carolina doesn't matter when you look at the other states. In Pennsylvania, it's 5,596 now. So
yeah, if Pennsylvania closes this morning or this afternoon, that's it. It doesn't actually matter what the rest of them count. because that will put Joe Biden over the top. Worth mentioning.
Even if you look at, I mean, it doesn't matter. And again, we said, some have him at 253, some have him at 264. It doesn't matter if he wins Pennsylvania, because either way, it's over. I mean, it'll put him over the 270, and now you're just talking about, okay, what's the margin of electoral votes that he wins by at that point?
I just have to wonder when I love your use of the "it's over," because this isn't going to be over for a long time. Maybe the election process will be over. The moving forward part will probably not be over for a long time. People are very worried about the public unrest as this develops the rest of the day into the weekend. Airspace has been restricted over Joe Biden's home. Extra security and Secret Service agents have been deployed. So as we move through the rest of this Friday and into weather-wise what will be an absolutely stellar weekend, we just have to hope that the unrest from whatever happens here stays to a minimum.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the I'll throw a little sports in here. I wouldn't be surprised by the time that we go on air tonight for the Central game and the Shadyside game. If this part of it is over, I'm sure there's going to be legal battles still, but who knows? We'll wait and see. But I won't be surprised if this part of it is over by the time we go on the air tonight for football.
Yeah, I think,
and that's just looking at the numbers right now. I mean, you look at some of those leads, and again, Georgia is the closest. It's a little over 1,000 votes, and I mean it's going to be hard to overcome a 47,000 and 11,000 vote lead. I mean the turnaround that you would have to have is unbelievable, and even in Pennsylvania, I mean it's 5,500, but still, I mean that's going to be a heck of a turnaround. So
it is. It's a lot to overcome. But again, we've seen things happen during the course of this election process that I never thought we would ever see in our lives. I'd mentioned and thanks again to Stephen Allen Adams. He is, if you read the politics in the Intelligencer, a good chance Steve wrote that story, and for all the Ogden newspapers around the state. But as Steve and I have talked about, this is never going to go away quietly. President Trump, if he does in fact lose, and has openly said that he's not going to go away quietly and they're not going to be allowed to steal the election. And I don't know what the process will be. I mean, that's so far above my pay grade of understanding what the process is if someone contests an election. I mean, we learned so much in 2000 with the Bush-Gore Florida situation. That was one state.
Which lasted, 38, 39 days?
Yes.
Something like that?
And my concern is we're going to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner, socially distanced, of course, and we're not going to know. And that's not close. Thanksgiving is weeks away. I mean, and my goodness, if you're opening up your presents on Christmas Day, you still may not know what's going to happen. You may know who's been elected, but that doesn't mean that you know. It's just, this is the wildest thing we've ever seen. And I guess the thing that we have to, this is a telling story. And I'm not going to get to the whole thing because we're wrapping up the show because it's already 9:52. But Rick Santorum, and that's a name obviously a lot of people would know. Of course, his political ties are all through Pennsylvania. He said, and quote, "It's shocking to hear what President Trump is saying in these speeches." So I don't know. I mean, you've heard, and I've heard throughout the news this morning that we've played from various sources, that a lot of President Trump's constituents are supporting him. But I think you're starting to see a movement of less of those Republicans standing in that corner. I don't know if they're trying to jump off the ship or not, but it is happening. And Rick Santorum kind of leading that is pretty shocking, but it is in fact happening. So it will be interesting to see. I guess I just want the best for anybody that has to encounter social unrest, and it doesn't matter what side of this you're on, being understanding that people can be different and have different opinions than you and not causing them harm is important.
Well, Rick, we started the day with Channel 7 and Zach with the weather. Now we're going to end our part of the morning going back to Channel 7 and Bob Westfall, and he's going to tell us what is coming up on 7 News.
All right. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Very good. What's coming up?
Obviously, we're going to be watching the election returns as they continue to come in. So we'll be updating that as we go, both on social media and on air. So obviously, that's a big thing. It looks like there's some movement in Pennsylvania, obviously some movement in Georgia. So we'll have the latest on that. Some local stories we're working on. Belmont County has now hit 1,000 cases when it comes to COVID. We're going to follow up on those numbers. I do believe a couple schools in Belmont County have gone to remote learning. So we will have an update on that today as well. Belmont County has also received a community action grant dealing with the situation due to COVID. If you're a family that's in a situation where you're going to have utilities turned off or you might be facing an eviction, there's money out there. We're going to explain exactly what that is and how this might be able to help you through the pandemic. A couple other things working on. We're going to be following high school football. Playoffs continue in Ohio. I think we're 1 week away from West Virginia.
Yes.
Playoffs. So we'll be following those tonight. So again, a little bit of everything. Of course, we'll be watching what's going on in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and out west as well. So those are the big numbers, and that's what we're waiting on.
And Bob, don't forget tomorrow for West Virginia for the playoffs, we're going to have to pay attention to the DHHR map when that comes out at 5 o'clock because as of right now, there's a group of teams that wouldn't be in football postseason.
Right. Yes, that's another big thing we'll be watching. I'm sure we're going to be watching. I'm sure Scotty's watching that as well. So a lot of stuff going on packed in one day. So we're going to be there. We'll have it on social media. We'll have it on our website. And, of course, we'll have it on air as well.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Have a great and safe weekend, and we look forward to all of the breaking news because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of it.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a good weekend.
You too, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
So there you go. Follow along the stories. And the stories are going to be abundant real quick, Biff. I think before we check out, let's talk about the Friday night football schedule here at the Watchdog.
Yeah, the game we'll have tonight with playoff implications on AM 1600 WKKX and 98.1 FM. Wheeling Central traveling to Petersburg. A Wheeling Central win would get them into the playoffs in Class A in West Virginia. Please note the start time of that game. It was originally 7 o'clock. It has been changed to 6 o'clock. So Central, Petersburg, 6 o'clock tonight. And then over on AM 1370 WVLY and 97.7 FM. Shady Side will be at Newark Catholic. That is the Region 27 final game. And the winner of that will advance next week to the Final Four in Ohio. And they will get the winner of JFK out of Warren and Lucas. So those two games tonight. And then tomorrow, West Virginia at Texas, scheduled for noon on both stations. Pregame will start at 8:30 in the morning, which means we will not have the Saturday Sports Huddle tomorrow morning because of pregame coverage for West Virginia at Texas. And then tomorrow night at 7:30 on WVLY, Rutgers at Ohio State.
Big weekend for football. Of course, I believe the Browns are off this weekend.
Yes, this is their bye week this weekend.
Yeah, no Browns football this weekend. And Pittsburgh native Ben DiNucci going to try to do the impossible against his hometown Steelers. Third-string quarterback, played at James Madison, went to what high school did he go to? It just escaped me.
Did you say Pine Richland?
Pine Richland, yeah, Pine Richland. Last week it was interesting. Pine Richland grad actually almost beat Clemson, as he is he's the quarterback for Boston College. Now, of course, Clemson was not fully armed last week, but still, it was an interesting weekend for Pine Richland football and then Ben DiNucci, of course, started on.
Phil Jerkovic used to be at Notre Dame and transferred to Boston College.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wild stuff. A lot of good football coming out of this area, and like you said, tomorrow WVU at Texas at noon should be a good one. I mean, WVU can play defense.
Yes, they can.
It's just still mind blowing that WVU can play defense, but they have certainly turned that program around as far as the defensive side of that goes. And Coach Neil Brown, just a good dude. He's a guy that you can easily root for him.
Be patient with him and see what happens. So.
I think we got a good one. Motley Crew on the way out into a beautiful weekend. Biff, thank you so much. Stephen Allen Adams for calling in. Obviously, DJ from the Wheeling Nailers being a part of it. And Zach Petty, we talked to this morning and told us all about La Nina.
Yes, and following us on both stations, it'll be Hoppy Kercheval.
There we go.
10 to noon, and then Bill in at 12:30 for his football preview. And then the guys with the walkthrough, they'll be in the studio today at 3, and then right into the high school games tonight.
Awesome. Sounds good. For Biff, I'm Rick. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.